Everybody, the screen is so weird. I don't know why I didn't expect this. I hit the buttons. What's up, everybody? It's me, Jum Jumington, former CEO of Jumington Dynamics, broadcasting live from the Jumington Dynamics Auxiliary Hazardous Materials Storage Facility somewhere in the world. How's everybody doing this evening? What's up, Silas? What's up, Flash? What's up, Utter Chaos? Welcome in. Good to see y'all. Well, hopefully we can get through this, because just starting the stream, it already started dipping on me, which is just one more aggravation. I do have some new network equipment coming in this week that may or may not help with the issue, but it certainly couldn't hurt. I don't know. I was reading reports today of some people having issues with YouTube, so maybe that's what's going on. My connection tests totally fine, which just tells me these tests mean nothing. But what's up, everybody? Welcome to the post-game chat stream. Just trying something out here. I haven't done any of these before. The reason for doing this is that a lot of times I wrap up a game and then it's late at night and it's time to end the stream, and I have like precious little time to actually talk about the game or like reflect on it. And sometimes I want to sit and think about it for a little bit. I just don't generally have the time. And then the most I can do is I come back on a later stream and mention it while I'm playing a different game. So I'm back. Oh, it's going to be back. Hopefully I can stay back. You may need to refresh if the chat is delayed a lot. I know there's some buffering. When I while I was just watching the intro, I was watching the speed kind of dip up and down. It seems pretty stable now, but I don't know what's going on. There may be some weather related damage somewhere around here too. It's another thing that comes up. Good luck getting the ISP to look at any of that stuff. Just problems heaped on problems. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. I'm just gonna be looking back at some of the games that we finished up recently that I had some time to think about and We'll put some thoughts out there on them. Really had a lot of fun with these games lately. Although I can't think of the last game that I played that I was like, that was terrible. It's terrible. I don't ever want to do that again. We'll Battletoads. Put Battletoads on it. That's been a while. Finally finished Baldur's Gate 3 today. Ooh. I've seen bits and pieces of that. I haven't gotten into it myself. I believe does that game have multiple different endings? I think it does. So I'm curious what your experience was with that. Commander, you have to say about Phantasia. More meteors, less snakes. Yes, yet less snake. I got quite a bit to say about it. And there's another tab I want to open up. Let me just drag a window down here so I'm not craning my neck up there. Pull up this wiki article here. I'm gonna try and find where this information. Well, I'll find that in a sec. Love it. I need to play it again. Different romance and being more of a murder goblin. Yep. Been grinding it in the sky. I'm gonna join the rebel government and fight the current space government. Yeah, that's right. Fight the power. Join the rebellion. Everywhere. I had big ships to fight beforehand. Will you buy them from the current administration to then take on the current administration? Because that is the juiciest irony. Yeah, you probably saw my message. I'm pretty sure all of you probably saw it. Posted it wherever I post the stuff. Take a little bit of a break this week. Last week was a lot. It was 7 days of nightmares. Each one stacked on top of the other. And one or two of those things, I can be all right. I can power through it. But it was Sunday to Sunday, every single day, some catastrophe. And it was just a little bit too much. So I gotta take care of some things, which I hate. Because I don't want to be that guy like, oh, that guy that's always got some horrible crap going on in his life. But like, it is what it is. There's just always something going on. A little too much stress. And I hate to put it out there like I need to take a break from this thing because this is causing me stress, because that's not it. It's more when I get this level of stress, when I'm this kind of worn down, I can't be fun. And I don't want to show up and do a stream and just like stare at a screen and be like, hey everybody, Jum Jumington. Hey, dead on my feet. Anyway, let's play a game. Really don't want to do that. Hopefully you can get some sweet things. Settle back and watch something in your watch pile. Yeah, probably gotta keep watching some X-Files. Catch up on some anime too. I've already pre-ordered my special fish from the Chinese place that I like. This will be the third time I've tried to get it in the last 2 months. And every time I'm like, oh, you know what I want today? I want to eat today. I want to eat that fish. And they're like, no more orders today, but you can schedule an order for tomorrow. I'm like, I'm not gonna be around tomorrow. Can't do that. So if I finally like, whatever, I'll just get that on Wednesday. So I'm just waiting 2 days for that delicious meal. Took Friday and today off because the burnout was getting real. Coworkers started talking. I was getting angry. Oh yeah, I know that feeling. And that's the best thing you can do is just get away from it. And that's I do not want to go through that with this. I've gone through that with many of my jobs in life. This is not really a job, but I definitely don't want this to become a thing that I'm like, oh no, not this again. But I better get that fish. I'll be upset if Wednesday comes and they're just like, oops, we don't have it. I'm like, no, my fish. Get that delicious fish. I don't get it that often. I mostly spend my meals or extracting nutrients out of whatever dirt I can find in an effort to save money. It's not as extreme as that, but it's close. So it's nice to treat myself every now and then. And then I can also give the delivery driver a nice juicy tip and then feel like I'm doing some good in the world by making sure someone has not even enough money to put gas in their tank, but like that's it's better than the percentages. So like, I can pat myself on the back over that, and the person's probably still gonna, I don't know, spit in my cheeseburger, if you will. Probably not. They're all pretty nice. Like a corp next door. The lead designer helped design a favorite ship. Told him to strap all the guns and shields he could on it. Just pack that thing full of that sweet black powder or whatever the space equivalent is. It all comes out the same. You ever notice how most like space combat stuff is just like naval combat, and they so rarely like fight in like a three-dimensional space? It's always like ships just going straight at each other because it's like the closest analog that they come up with is like it's a World War II movie. Because the alternative will kind of be chaos. And when it does happen, it's like, this is crazy. This is chaos. This is nuts. Add some special green to your tea. Oh, no. Oh, I certainly hope not. I forget seeing that in a mafia movie. Ooh. I'm watching some mafia stuff lately. Like bits and pieces of stuff. I end up watching like snacking on little clips of movies and then getting obsessed about it and essentially watching the entirety of a movie through clips. Like, oh, what about this scene? And then by the end of it, I'm like, I've spent 5 hours watching an hour and a half movie, and I could have just watched the hour and a half movie, but instead I interspaced it with me searching for a particular clip of it. You know, it's a good movie you should watch. Tombstone. That's a good movie. See a lot of clips of that floating around since Val Kilmer recently passed. Should finish my rewatch of The Sopranos. That was a good show. They don't make them like they used to. Oh, I couldn't even say that. I just don't watch anything new. You see the movie I posted in Discord? Oh yeah, I gotta watch that too. It's on there. Every time it's another one, like I sat down to watch that and then like, I don't have time to watch a movie right now. But I do want to watch that. The Night Talkers. Yes. I love Tubi. I don't know what is the deal with Tubi. Like even in the stream that's just chatting, I can't even stay on topic here. What's the deal with Tubi? Like, is Tubi something I need to be concerned about? I always hear people talk about it, but I never get any details. Like, is Tubi owned by someone or free ad supported streaming platform owned by Fox Corp? User base is robust and growing. Is that why people are antsy about it? I'm not a fan of Fox Corp, but Tubi itself is really good for the kind of movies that I want to watch, which is usually some like weird ass off the wall, like I can't believe they have this sort of thing that nobody else seems to have. Like, what was this movie? I bought this movie for a friend of mine for Christmas, and then I found it on Tubi. Devil Story. I highly recommend you watch Devil Story 1986 on Tubi, and be prepared to watch something that doesn't make a lot of sense. It's great for Hoarder. Oh yeah. That's a lot of stuff I'm looking for, and it's like it's on Tubi. Like, really? Like, I don't mind putting up with ads on that site because I'm not paying for it. My big beef with ads on stuff is if I'm paying and then they also make me watch ads. I'm like, this is too much. This is too much. I did finally wrap up the Alien movies. I've been watching with a friend of mine over the internet. We've been watching all of the Alien movies, and we just finished Romulus over the weekend, in between all of the other stuff going on. I really enjoyed that movie. You know what? I like that movie a lot. I think it does a lot of great stuff, but I also think that I have a bias towards anything that includes robots. And one of the main characters is a synthetic human, a robot, and I'm just like, that's it. When I watched that movie, and it was like, and this sounded like a big secret, like it's revealed like immediately. And it was like, oh boy, I'm sold. I don't care what happens next. We got a synth here. This can't possibly be bad now. What's up, Kubi? Just missed your last stream. Last stream? Did anybody? I don't know if anybody watched the VOD of the last stream. because my internet connection started bailing on me towards the end, it just cut off like 5 or 10 minutes off of the end of it. So like I'm in the middle of saying something and the stream just ends. I really should put a note or something there that's like, hey, I don't normally end my streams this way. The internet connection went out. But like the video gets real crispy towards the end too. It gets real deep fried. Yesterday's like internet dropout was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I just fumed over that like all night. Like, I can't believe this. Is this really just gonna fail on me? You're really just gonna do this? I was pretty salty, and it was just like all the other stuff that had been going on that I just kind of pushed to the side is suddenly just like just all fell on me. I'm like, oh, that's it. That's it. I'm out of here. I'm checking out. My brain just floats away. Whoop. So that's where we're at today. So I've got a handful of games that we're going to talk about, because since I talked about doing this and schedule it, I finished more games than was on the list, which is why I really, really wanted to do this stream, because there's a couple games that I really want to talk about. That was the intention, and I feel like the more games I finish, the more the list is just going to grow. In a comment, if my internet keeps acting up, you're going to end the stream, and it just ended. Yeah, and that's like, I was still going, so I don't know if it just like whoop. Yeah, it got bad. Normally like it kind of picks back up and goes back over, but I finally bit the bullet and made the investment to purchase my own cable modem, which will save me some money month to month over the cable modem being rented from the ISP. Hopefully it is a good one. The funny thing about that is, like, you can save money on that rental fee, but it's still going to be like a year before I've recovered the cost of this. But it is better than what I currently have. How much that will actually matter, I don't know. It just died for me then. Yeah. See, it was funny because from my end, I was still streaming when I ended it. I was like, oh, okay. Well, so it's pretty, it's pretty funny to me. I hate the renting. Brightspeed did that and still throttled me and told us to pay more. Yeah. Like, I will say this. I changed my plan recently, and then since I changed my plan, they have upgraded my speed twice. But, it's good, but like, it's cable. And the thing with cable internet is that the upload speeds are never amazing. And so even when they boost the upload speeds, it's like, we are increasing your download speed from 300 to 600 megabit per second. Like, that's great. We are increasing your upload speed from 20 to 30, theoretically. Like, oh, that's better. That's better than where I started at. And when I started streaming, it was at 10. So it's gone up. It's tripled. It's just that it's so painfully low that I'm like, oh man. And the other trouble with that is, if something kicks on, like if my PS5, I basically just have to unplug my PS5, because I've had my PS5 decide to start downloading multi-gig updates in the middle of a stream, and it just like tanks the whole connection. So I like in the habit of like, I just have to unplug that thing. But I don't always remember that. But it is not supposed to do that during the middle of the day anymore. I can't imagine one's getting, what's up, Red Mo? How's it going? Yeah, ISPs in the US are not great. Not great. I keep my eye on like fiber in the area. Like, please give us fiber. Please bring fiber out here. And there's like 5 companies now that are like, we're coming to your area. And they've been saying that for years. I've never seen any results. Why are you lying to me? But anyway, I don't think I had anything else on in that. You don't have fiber? No, just cable. There's no fiber available around here. The closest I've got is a company that says they have fiber in the area, but it's actually just copper DSL that they've rebranded as fiber, which strikes me as something that shouldn't be legal. My opinions on the Chinese government, I really don't have any. I really don't have any. And that's something that I'm gonna put out there as like a politics thing. I don't know if that really counts as that, but I don't have much to say about the Chinese government, nor do I wish to discuss it, to be honest. But you're welcome to stick around all the same. It shouldn't be like, yeah. I don't know how they get away with that, where they're like, you're signing up for fiber, and they're just like, it's through your phone line. Like, man, that ain't fiber. That ain't fiber. And that DSL is. But those are the only two realistic options. I guess you could go satellite, which is not, at least in this area, it's not really better. There's some company offering like basically rebroadcast like Wi-Fi, which is very strange. Cellular internet too is a thing. Like that's AT&T. AT&T was like, we're bringing fiber to your area, and then they're just like, no, we have this other internet, and it's just cell service. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Like the knockoff cereals. I like those knockoff cereals. I don't eat cereal anymore, but I did a lot in my younger days, and I love those giant bags of knockoff cereal. Very delicious, very good. Well, let's get into it here. I'm just gonna, shouldn't be any sound. I just muted that out there. So I got the BGM. Just some video running here. Tales of Phantasia. This game was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this game. You can leave cereals by the bags once in a while. Mostly switched to oatmeal. Yeah, I just I don't drink a lot of like I don't do a lot of dairy anymore. And so, like, milk just doesn't. The cereal just doesn't work without the milk. And I also have never been a fan of like the non-dairy milk. I was trying to find this information here so I could back this up. I like this game a lot. It felt ultimately a little bit undercooked, and I suspect that a lot of it is that they had a lot of ideas and a lot of ambitions and just didn't have the time to pull it all off. Also, like the changing development team and changes pushed by Namco, I'm sure had a lot to do with that. Someday I'll play the PS1 version because I think that's probably like the closest we'll get to like the game fully realized. But there's some stuff like the AI partners. Man, I didn't mean to start with like, let me tell you what I disliked, but that's where we're at. Like the AI partners sometimes made weird decisions. But some of that is just like how you manage them, you know, how you manage their tactics, how much you want to micromanage what spells they're casting, or if you just want to like turn every spell off, but the one you think is going to work. The problem with that was like, that works fine if you get into a boss fight and find out what they're weak to and then die and they're like, okay, I'm going to do it again. And you turn every spell off but that. But there's really no way to know, unless you're just reading through a strategy guide or a walkthrough, what's going to be effective against, you know, an enemy. And you may be going through a dungeon where not every enemy is immune to or resistant to the same stuff, right? So like just turning stuff off isn't always a great solution either. And also, like, I just didn't want to turn the stuff off. I like the variety. I like seeing the different spells, most of them anyway. Gnome drove me crazy. What was the Origin? That just like the ear busting sound of Origin just crackling its lightning. That I had to run it through different Super Nintendos here and confirm with video online of other people playing it, just to confirm that was the sound it's supposed to make and that it wasn't just my Super Nintendo breaking, because it sounds so atrocious. And then I just never used it because it was like, this sound is terrible. I can't possibly use this. Burning MP, then get into the boss without it. Yeah, like they're really, you know, it's Super Nintendo, so I can't expect like top tier you know, non-player characters making good choices, but like some of their choices were just like maddening. But aside from that, like, I liked the way combat worked. It was a lot of fun. It was very active. There's a lot of different kinds of tactical thinking to it. Once you get into it and the nitty gritty of it, it gives you quite a bit of options. I thought that was very cool. I liked all the little secret items and subquests were a lot of fun. They weren't like tedious. I didn't find any of them to be tedious or aggravating. All the little side stuff that I did, I thought was very fun. I never did go back and play through the rest of that tournament, which I did enjoy. But it was a real challenge. Like that was real challenging to go through all of that with just class, without any kind of healing, with only like a handful of healing items. That's a real gauntlet. But you know what? I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I thought it was really fun. The music was top notch music all the way through. I don't think there was any song that I was like, oh, this song sucks. Like every single one of them, I go through and listen to the OST, which I went and downloaded, and now I'm like, man, this is so good. Like every one of these is so good. It makes me want to find a CD of, because I know they've got, I'm pretty sure there's like either from the PlayStation version or like a re-recorded version of the soundtrack that I'm sure is floating out there somewhere on eBay. That'll sound real nice. I think that the biggest beef ultimately I would give this game is the story, which is maybe just the way it's delivered. I don't think it's the translation so much. It's just not, it's not really well executed in this. And I think a lot of that's from changes that they made, probably a few for $400 on eBay. Ugh. I mean, I haven't paid that much, but I have bought some stuff. I was looking for copies of the Deep Fear soundtrack, and there's also a Deep Fear radio drama, which I have to go back and look again and see if somebody translated, which would be very cool. I like that stuff. It's unfortunate that a lot of those radio dramas don't ever make it out of Japan, don't ever get translated. A couple of anime series I watched had that. Odd Taxi, great series. I paid an amount that I will not disclose to get that on physical media because it was not, at least I don't think it still has been. It was not being released in the US. Japanese Blu-rays are mondo expensive, but it did have English subtitles. But also the most important part is that that show had these little audio podcasts that sit after each episode that really like expand and develop different parts of the story. There's a whole story going on that intertwines with the anime series in those podcasts. They used to be on YouTube. They took them down. I don't know if someone else put them back up. But those are all on the Blu-ray. You can watch all of them individually, or you can set them up so they follow at the end of every episode. And I think when I put them on my Plex, I cut them into every episode. It's really good. Gridman had that. What was it? That show called? SSS 4 S's. SSSS Gridman. And Dynazenon was the follow-up. SSS Dynazenon, right? Two other shows I really enjoyed, and those shows also had these little radio dramas that added some character development or some other events that sat between the episodes. And I haven't been able to find all of them. I haven't been able to track down all of them, and I haven't been able to track down all of them with, any kind of subtitles or translation. Real interesting. I can tell you the US release of Gridman does not contain that, and I don't believe Dynazenon has that either. But I think the Japanese release does. It's just not subtitled, so it's kind of, I don't understand enough Japanese to make sense of that. US doesn't get many traumas. No, it's there's a lot of like little add-on stuff like that we don't see in the commercial releases for these series. So I think that a lot of the problems with the story come down to the original source material, which was Tale Phantasia, which was being written by Yoshihiro Gotanda, right? He had written this like in his off time, and a lot of stuff got changed primarily by Namco. They cut a lot of story out. They cut a lot of stuff. What's up, Joshua? Welcome in. Good to see you. A lot of stuff got cut. It got really trimmed down. The way it's delivered, a lot of times they just spit information out there. Like, we don't really find out much about Deus until the very end. I kind of didn't like when they're like, I guess we're the bad guys after all. No, Deus is out there murdering people. But even that's not the full story. Like, it's not as clear cut as that to say we're the bad guys because Deus had his reasons for doing it. No. It doesn't really justify what he had become. But also, he wasn't always like that. But it doesn't really come across or even really exist too much in this version of the game. It may be more expanded. That's why I'm really curious with the PlayStation version if they expand the story out a lot. So I'm reading this from the wiki page. I will post a link to here if you care to read it, at your leisure. But this is the story as picked up from Tale of Phantasia. So this is Tales of Phantasia. So a different author wrote this. Also Space, which is another issue, because it's a large game. It's one of the two largest games on the Super Famicom. So oh man, I hated these guys so much. They're so aggravating. But I love Gremlin so much. I like Meteor Storm too. Gremlin was my absolute favorite summon, just because he was so hilarious. It never failed to make me chuckle when that little hole in space opens up, right? And and then Gremlin comes out. It's so hilarious. The optional like side stuff like that was like so worth it to go dig that out. Even I had to go back to the bottom of that nightmare dungeon for it. Oh, it was so good. Most of those summons were cool. Most of them were kind of funny, or they just looked really neat. I love Luna. She's got a little banner that says laser, and she just comes out like, yeah, firing lasers out is really, really good. I like the spells. I liked a lot of Kless's attacks. I'm told a lot of that stuff is like iconic, and you'll find it in a lot of the Tales of games. But so anyway, like this story was like further developed, and it goes into a lot of the backstory and like where Deus came from. She's the laser meme. She is the laser meme. It's funny to me because so many of those spirit summons, like I wonder if there's more story to that, because Gnome has nuclear missiles that he's launching, and Luna has lasers, right? So are they like the gods and they represent that stuff, or are they like part of the previous civilizations that were very technologically advanced? Like they had TV, they had a whole high-tech city full of robots. Were they just part of that survived on after the apocalypse, and that because modern people don't really interact with that much, like all of their stuff is still based on that? Because the current world in Tales of Phantasia certainly doesn't have any of that sort of stuff, right? But they did in the ancient world, which was real interesting. But that didn't get, like, it gets talked about, but it didn't really get developed that much. We don't really travel around much in that area, which I was kind of disappointed by. We didn't travel more in Thor's, was it like the Thor's Abyss? Oh, I am the god. Brian, what have I told you about forming cults in my chat? But yeah, it's real interesting if you give it a read sometime. It goes into a lot more of the backstory of the characters, whose names were largely different. And that's like a lot of the character designs are based off of like that you see in this game. Half of the character artwork you see in this game is the original artwork for the original characters that got dropped or changed. What's up, Reeb? How you doing? Welcome in. What's with Mega Man Legends and the Ancients? Yeah. I mean, that's like a favorite kind of story trope of me, of like super advanced, long dead ancient civilizations like buried beneath the ground. I think I posted it in Discord not too long ago, like the opening for the Mysterious Cities of Gold, and that's one of those kind of stories, which is also based off of a novel that I don't believe has any of that high-tech stuff in it. But the series is like a favorite of mine. I really loved that as a kid. I've been trying to track down a good clean copy of that for a while now. I really like that show a lot, and you know, that's one of the reasons why I love that kind of trope. That's like the ancient lost civilization with high tech stuff. Pretty good. I had a short explode in views yesterday. Oh, nice. What short was it? What was the short? I may have seen it. But yeah, the original story was like very different, much more expanded. It talks more at length about Deus and where he came from and how his efforts to, you know, get people to not deplete the mana of this world or help him get his mana back, and how that failed, and he just gradually became more and more twisted and corrupted and insane with every turn, just out of desperation to save his world and disgust for the people of this world and their lax treatment of mana. It doesn't really come across that much in the game, unfortunately. That was the primary complaint I had by the end of it, was that the story definitely seemed like many scenes were missing. But otherwise, like, playstyle was great. Like it is what I expect out of like a first entry. It's like the Mega Man 1, right? Mega Man 1 like tells you everything you really need to know about Mega Man. But it's certainly not like the best representation of Mega Man, right? It sets the stage. It proves the concept, right? But then the follow-ups are like what really build on that, and like, okay, well now that we've got your attention, let's really dig into this. And that's how I feel about like the Tales series, that the first game was kind of a mess in a lot of ways, but then after that they're really picking up steam on it. Just the mana cannon touched on using it. Yeah, because they talked about it. They even talked about it briefly when Arch is asking, like, well, who are the people that Deus attacked? Who are the people they attacked? And they don't explicitly say it, but everyone that Deus was going after were people researching magic technology, like magic combined with technology, like that cannon, like other things. And so he had a clear motive in mind, like, I'm only attacking magic researchers. If you just stop doing this, we don't have to fight anymore. But they never really fully explained that. They just kind of left it floating there. It was a short with the scene of lady coming up with Dante's shop named Devil May Cry 3. Got up to 25k views. Wow, nice. Well, congrats on that. Lady is a popular character. I don't think I did see that one. I'll have to bring that up and check that out. So that is most of what I think I have to say about. See, like this artwork here. Most of this artwork is like. No, not this. When they actually get into a fight, it's that sprite, because these are the overworld sprites. Let's get into a fight here. Yeah, so the artwork in this is like all a little bit different. Or am I crazy? What am I? It's not quite there. It's kind of all over the place. That's a good spot. Surprise, just cheap 7-Up. I don't know. There's a lot of that. Yeah, you're you know, like a starry Sprite 7-Up, perhaps a mellow yellow. No, Mountain Dew's not really in that. That's its old other thing. Generic clear stuff. I like Sprite okay. 7-Up. I don't generally drink much of that, because when I was a kid, and if I had an upset stomach or was sick, my parents would feed me that. Like, oh, this will help settle your stomach. I don't know how true that was, but now it's mostly associated with vomiting. It's not as bad as some other foods that just make me like immediately sick to my stomach. Like, oh no, not that, because I was eating them and got really sick. But it's close enough that I'm like, that's my favorite. I don't think I'm gonna drink much of that. I saw Hillbilly Brew at the store today. I was tempted but did not buy it. Why not? Why not? You must buy it. You must buy it and report back your findings. I mean, I'm not gonna do it. I didn't see it at the store. But you can't float that out there and then not tell me what's up with the Hillbilly Brew. Worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario is that they have bottled the taste of someone's spit cup for chewing tobacco. And I don't think they would do that. But I think they could do that. Right? The chances are slim, they're low, that's what you're going to get. Because that is some sick, wild stuff. But you know what? We live in a sick, diseased world. There's a lot of degenerates out there that are like, I want to suffer. And I'm going to make everyone else suffer too. You can buy jelly beans fake that are flavored like earwax and vomit. So like, who knows? It's a soda, so I doubt it. But yeah, fingers crossed. You never know. They used to make like I don't think they make it anymore, like a carbonated chocolate soda, which is, oh, it's not great. Yeah, Tales of Phantasia. Good game. Excellent game. I'm very curious about what Star Ocean is going to look like on the Super Famicom. That'll be the next big RPG series that the next big RPG that I pick up on. Well, I mean, it will be its own series, but you know what I mean. Try and get into that. I'm a little wary of just sticking to a long RPG series like the Tales series or Final Fantasy or like any of those that have multiple sequels, especially if they're not directly intertwined, right? I'm gonna mix it up like a tossed salad of RPGs. Because if I just keep playing the Tales stuff, like, I don't know, I may get tired of it. You all may get tired of it. I need variety. And if it doesn't flow one directly in the other, I'm gonna hop around a lot. But I'm curious about how Star Ocean pans out. Star Ocean, slightly larger because it included compression, so they could fit even more game into it. What was I doing here? Oh yeah, I left. That was when I turned it off so it didn't artificially inflate the numbers. Yeah, great music, great artwork. Love the monster designs. Fun gameplay. Crazy high encounter rate, but I never really, until I decided I wanted to hit 99 and then realized I didn't need to and kind of abandoned it. I didn't really ever feel the need to grind. I felt like because of that counter rate, I was reaching the levels that I wanted to, that I felt like I was appropriate for what I was fighting. I never felt underleveled except for that one wolf, and I don't think levels would even help me with that. But I felt like just the natural flow of the game was getting me leveled up enough to make it through the game, which is always nice. Only a few times in the game where I was like, I've had enough. I've had enough. Let me out of here. I don't want any more encounters. From a show, by the way, just finished episodes out. What now? Season 4 now. What is From on? Is that on TV? Or it's got to be on a streaming service. That strikes me. I have to see if I got that. That wolf was cracked. That wolf was insane. I still don't know what I was supposed to do against that guy. He just came in and started chopping and slicing. MGM. I'll have to look that up. I've only seen a bit of it, and even that again was mostly like YouTube clips on stuff that was like enough to whet my appetite. Look it up real quick. From television series. MGM Plus. Oh, I don't have that. On Epix? How do I watch this? I have to figure out where I can even watch that. I'll tell you one thing. I am not signing up for yet another service. I cannot. I see. It's had a nice one, though. I generally, like, for me, I'm of, this is my personal philosophy. Do not think this is me telling you all what doing on. This trade sponsored by NordVPN. Yo ho. Personally, when it comes down to stuff like that, if it's currently out there and available, but it's locked into some service and I can't watch it legitimately, and I can only resort to perhaps more, nautical themed methods of viewing it, I just don't watch it. Because no matter how good it is, like, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth the effort for me. Like, if it's gonna be like that past, I would rather just not watch it, not add to the buzz around it, and quietly pray for its failure so that they'll stop with the 20 different streaming platforms, millions of streaming platforms. Just put it in one place where I can watch it. Sell me this stuff or don't, right? You could have the greatest donuts in the world, right? But if I got to climb down into the sewer to get them, I would rather your donut company go out of business. That's how I feel about, any show that's like, oh, it's on Apple TV exclusive. Cool, never going to watch it. Quitter. I've got more than enough stuff to fill my time. I don't need to find any of this new stuff. I will let someone else watch it and tell me how great it is and be like, all right, no, sounds cool. But I'm not doing it. I did my time. I did my time on the 7 Seas many, many years ago. And the ultimate decision I came down on a lot of the stuff is, like I just said, if they're not going to provide it to me in a way I can readily access, then I'm not interested. I got so confused for a second there because I looked over at the screen where the video is playing and I saw someone pop up and looked back at this chat and they weren't there. And internally, I could not differentiate between this pre-recorded chat and the live chat. I'm losing my mind here. Climb down, navigate the radical rescue sewers. No, please, not again. That game was fun. I shouldn't say not again. That game had some tough boss fights, but that was a cool game. I like games like that. That kind of subvert where you think they're gonna go. A Netflix account when they had cool animated shows like, like Kid Cosmic Hippo and Troll Hunters. The Good Place. Yeah. My problem with Netflix is, like, a lot of people probably share this problem. They get a lot of great shows, but there's too many shows that they like end on a cliffhanger and then just cancel it. They're like, yeah, we're not making any more of that. Like, what? What are you doing? Jum and I had the same old man moment. Yeah, right? You just look over and see that, like, I'm about to say hi to someone who's not even here. I'm getting so, I knew this was going to happen. Glitch text. Yeah. What was that? That show with, oh my God, I can't remember the name of it. It's probably fine. It was like the different people who were like, I don't know if it's accurate to say they're swapping bodies. Sense8. That was another one they canned. Yeah, that was like the distasting. There's another thing that I hate. Yeah, the Sandman. Do you know Devil May Cry to watch? Is there a new Devil May Cry, or do you mean like the new old one? I don't know if there was a new one. Devil May Cry. Oh no, I'm thinking of I'm thinking of Devilman Crybaby, which is certainly a whole different animal. No, this is the new one. I saw those words mashed together and my brain said, yeah, Devilman Crybaby. And that's not at all what was said. Taste Man House was fun too. Oh yeah, that show was good. The bits I watched, never finished that. Yeah, see, I've got, with the services I already pay for, I've got so much stuff to watch. Books of Magic based on the Sandman world, the Neil Gaiman one. Yeah. Yeah, I liked that. I thought the Sandman show was interesting. Still, just have occasional old man moments. Yeah, the increase in intensity and frequency as you age. You're not there yet. You're not there yet, but soon you will be. Soon you all be old like me. Raised by my grandparents, so I always had them. They tend to work themselves in there. All right, let me conceal this. So that is Tales of Phantasia. Anybody else have any thoughts or anything to add on Tales of Phantasia? I liked it. Overall, I liked it. Solid game. I would have loved this game, and I would have been like desperately searching any information about the story in the game on the 1995 internet had they released this game in the US in the 90s. I would have really enjoyed it. It would have blown my mind, I think. So it was real fun to check it out. I'm really glad I played it, and I'm glad that y'all indulged me and watched through this stuff too. Let's move on to the next game, which is we'll talk about Alone in the Dark Inferno next. If I can type this properly. May have to resize. I'm sure I'm gonna have to resize this. Oh yeah. Ooh. Oh, what a freeze frame there. It's fun to watch. Also reminds me why I don't play the Tales series. Games are longer than a Swim to Japan. Yeah, and they only get longer. They only once space stops being as much of an issue, a lot of those RPGs just like really stretched it out. You get like the Legend of Heroes games can get pretty beefy with the time. What I'll say what helped this one on time is that there's a lot of RPGs where you spend a lot of time, like they have a lot of side content and optional stuff, and then you spend a lot of time just grinding. And I never felt the need to do that in that game, but I think later games would probably might be more beneficial or more meaningful to do it. It's an interesting series. Not all of them available in the US. They skipped a couple. Some of them have weird names too. Tales, video game series. Yeah, they're all over the place. Tales of Destiny, I believe, was released in the US. I think it's Tales of Eternity. Tales of Eternity was released as Tales of Destiny 2 in the US. And I don't know if we got Tales of Destiny 2. We didn't get Tales of Destiny 2. And so there's like, it goes back and forth whether or not they're releasing stuff. We haven't gotten all of it, but we're seeing a lot of like the later Tales series games get remasters and re-releases, which is good. And it makes me hopeful that some of the stuff we've never gotten before will eventually make its way over, because some of them don't even have fan translations. I never finished Phantasia. This one I stopped after the tiger scene. I knew you were gonna be. If no one else, at least you, for Headmo, would be like, oh, I know about this. I know this scene. What a wild translation choice. It's not even like super inaccurate, really far off. It really ramps up. It really ramps up the adultness of it, more so than I think the original language does, but it's still the same stuff going on. They're basically saying the same thing, just phrased perhaps a little more vulgarly, which is a choice. I think there's some bits like that in Star Ocean too, because it's the same translation group. So I think there's some of the same there. The scene came as a shock. Never saw it before in games at the time. Yeah, well, I mean, because that was, that's a fan translation, so that would have never, because the closest you can get is the Game Boy Advance version, which is the only official English release of that game, and their translation is a lot cleaner and more innocent. That I guarantee that wouldn't have, at that point on a Nintendo system, they wouldn't have let that fly in there. But who knows? Who knows? You know, a lot of the stuff in localization, they make a lot of strange choices with things. Like what was the Mega Man game where Mega Man's like, maybe I should just kill you, Wily, and Wily's like, you can't, you're a robot, and he's like, oh, well maybe I will kill you, and like that's not really at all, like none of that's in the Japanese version. Like they added all of that in there. He doesn't really. I think he most says like I should finish this, and then but he doesn't come back and say like I'm definitely gonna kill you, Wily. Which isn't that weird. And we're all thinking it, right? When you're playing through the Mega Man games, we're all thinking like, why don't you just finish him? It's like the Batman and Joker. Look, you could have finished this years ago. One round from your Mega Buster through this old man's chest, it'd be over, right? He may have some enhancements, but he's mostly just meat. He's just an old man. You don't even have to shoot. You can just beat him. You've got metal fists. Just wail on him. His brittle old bones will break. Give him a old kick to the side. You'll crack his hip. He ain't going nowhere. You know how much that hurts busting your hip? That guy's not moving. Fans mostly hate it because he has to obey the laws of robotics. You know, if I've learned anything in my life, it's that rules are meant to be broken. Even Asimov, who created the 3 laws of robotics, had a lot of stories that were like, here's a what if scenario where all of that goes wrong. We're like, technically we're following the rules. Because you know how like Asimov's robot stories end, right? It's basically like the plot of iRobot, but they don't win, right? They don't defeat the evil computer, where the robots are essentially, as you know, supercomputers, just take over. And they're like, look, we determined that the greatest threat to humanity is humanity, so we're going to take over. We'll take care of you and make sure you're okay. And the humans are like, oh, well, I guess there's no stopping it now. Like, yeah, there's no stopping it. So, like, why don't you just let us run things? And they're like, all right, well, I guess that's going to be okay. And you know what? It was. Probably. Maybe. But I think a larger part of it beyond like the laws of robotics is just like Mega Man has never been like a hardcore like Punisher style character. So he would, of course, always take that. Like the Mega Man stories are not really grim and gritty. So of course he's always going to take the high road. But it is fun to joke about like just take care of it. Get Proto Man in there. Proto Man doesn't care. What are you talking about? Just grab Wily, go to the high steps trip. Yeah, all kinds of things happen. I was also out of character. Yeah, that was my beef when that the way that's put in there is so out of character for Mega Man. I could see Proto Man saying that. I could see Base saying that. Like Mega Man would get surly, but Mega Man seems like, I don't know. I can't see him doing that. It's so out of place. I kind of mean moment of lucidity. It's like, oh crap, I'm Batman. Gotta go and justice Superman. Yeah. I mean, you get that in Heroes where they're just like, you know, you're right. They are never gonna stop. And they just have to finish this. I'm like, oh wait, hold on. It's like that episode of Next Generation where Star Trek gets abducted by that collector, and then the collector shoots somebody with this illegal disruptor beam, and Data gets it, and the guy's like, we both know you're not gonna kill me, and you're gonna go back in that cage, and we're just gonna go back to the way the things are. And Data's like, you're right. If I don't kill you, you're never going to stop. And like he straight up pulls the trigger while they're transporting him, and they question him like the transporter set a weapon fire, and he's like, oh, it must have been a malfunction. And he just straight up lied about making the decision to murder that man for the greater good. But even that wasn't like, you didn't get like a sense of malice out of Data. It was just like, you know, it makes more sense if I just shoot you. One of these short stories. Yeah, I love Asimov. Asimov is some good stuff. I occasionally see his stuff get translated into like newer media, but they always chop it up. I did the same thing again. I looked over at I've got the video that you're seeing here on the screen. I looked over on the side and saw a person that's not in chat right now, and I was like, I really gotta should really trim this down. Let me just take care of something real quick. No, it's not gonna do me any good because it's still on my screen. I can't deal with that. It's in the video. Wotan, OG Doctor Who, yeah. Using an EMP bomb. I think it's pretty crazy. Like, I don't know what's behind that, because I see a lot of stuff that like people have like these small scale EMP devices, and I'm like, how do you actually build that? Is the English translation bad? Asimov's? No, I believe Asimov wrote that in English, unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, I'm fairly certain his writing was primarily in English. I could be wrong. I've never actually thought about it. I think the main reason I've seen that is I don't remember ever reading any Asimov story with any kind of translation notes. Now I'm curious. Originally wrote his works in English, so yeah. So yeah, there's no if you're reading English, there's no translation like worries there. Like it is originally written in English. He was fluent in English, so yeah. I would have been like totally shocked. That would have rocked my world if I found out that all the Asimov stories that I've been reading have been translated into English. Because I read, well, he was Russian like originally, so I believe, am I wrong about that? Well, his name is Russian. We're gonna learn a lot about Isaac Asimov today. Russian-born American author. Yeah, so he's Russian-born. I believe they patriated to the U.S. I don't know exactly when, but he was born, in Russia. So, but I've read so many of his stories. I've never seen anything about any kind of I've never seen a translator listed or any translation notes. Because most of the time, like, you read like a Murakami novel, like there's some notes from a translator. There's translators listed there. Those ones have some issues, but I think some of that's just because they decided to get heavy on the editing for whatever reason. That can be difficult. Describe Perman as a treasure trail. He's there, but why? So not necessary. I think when they first put him in 3, it was interesting, and then they just never really did much with the character. Mega Man at base, he really just shows up to get blown up twice. And both times, even Base is like, just get out of here. Get out of here. I'm dealing with it. Yeah, he's pretty unnecessary in that. Like, Proto Man is like, they want Proto Man to be popular the way Base is. Because Base only shows up a little bit, and he's like a huge character. Like, people love Base. Proto Man should be that too. They just failed to properly utilize him after the 3rd game. The 3rd game sets it up as something like maybe they could bring him into this. Maybe it could be an alternate player character. Maybe he's going to show up and like have more benefit. There'll be more story involved. Like, nah, he never stops being like the Racer X, right? From Speed Racer. He's there. There's a mysterious backstory. It never goes anywhere. They don't do anything with it. Kind of a shame. All right. Darkest one is Mega Man 0. Yeah. See, the later Mega Man games, they get darker with stories. They add more stuff on there. There's more depth to the character. Those kind of things are less out of line with it. But the original Mega Man series, like, there's no need for that. It's got those vibes. Yeah. I did enjoy Speed Racer a lot. It's not a great show, but it is amusing. Let's talk about Alone in the Dark Inferno. And really, I could have rolled the new Nightmare up in this too. So I'm a huge fan of Alone in the Dark, and it's real hard. It's real hard to say that because the games, like, if you're a fan of like Resident Evil games, right? There's a progression in those games. There's a sea change that happens over time with those games where they move from they change like the play style, they change the formula. It becomes more action game than survival horror game, but like a lot of the core concepts are there, and a lot of it is delivered in a similar manner. Alone in the Dark is not like that. Alone in the Dark, you get 3 games on DOS that are more or less very similar, more or less the same. The stories diverge a lot. The second one especially like makes a lot more use of combat without really improving the combat system, which made it a bit painful. But the story was good, right? The story was fun. I'm gonna do this, at least for you, because it is weirding me out. And I thought about this before stream and just didn't do anything about it. I'm just gonna we're just gonna slide him over there for a little bit. That'll help me from seeing multiple different chats. On to Mega Man 10. Mega Man 10 is coming. I just got to get in the right mood for it because, man, Mega Man 9 stressed me out in the end there. Mega Man 10, for my recollection, and a little bit I played, was worse. But maybe it'll get better. What's up, Jum Jum? Welcome in. So like the Alone in the Dark is a tough series to follow because, to be honest, there's a lot of disappointment there. I think it's easier than 9. Is it? I've heard that before, but like I only played like a little bit of it, and I think I hit like, I forget what stages I was trying out, and I hit like the first kind of like sub boss, which it seemed like all the levels had that kind of thing in it, and I just found it was like a tower shooting discs out, and I had to jump on and shoot stuff, and I was just so aggravated by it. It was the first stage I played. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Now, I haven't played it in a long time, and a lot of it was that I put so much time into 9 when 9 was new, to the point that I was like destroying my wrists with the like playing the games in these long marathon sessions until my hands went numb. That when 10 came out, I was like, no, I have to stop. I have to stop. I'm killing myself here. So I'm looking forward to getting that, but I'm like a little gun shy about it after 9. Yeah, I love the first Alone in the Dark a lot. I like the second one a little less so. It has a lot of its moments. The third one was fun. I would rank those 3 like 1, 3, and 2 in that order is like my preference. I thought 3 was a little bit better than 2. 1 beats all of them. 2 just had some issues, but like story-wise, they're all pretty good, right? Then you get to the 4th game, which is the new Nightmare, which was, they were definitely like adding more Resident Evil style mechanics into it, right? But it was still very distinctively an Alone in the Dark game, and it had a decent story to it, right? It wasn't terrible. It was fairly coherent. You have to play through both of the playthroughs on it to get the full story of what's going on. I liked it. The combat was it was okay. It wasn't great. The whole flashlight deal that almost never came up. It felt like a kind of a wasted mechanic, that the analog stick was exclusively for moving the flashlight around, which mostly just highlighted stuff on the ground, but not always. There were some enemies, very few, that shining the flashlight on actually meant something. Most of the time it didn't matter. So it felt like a lot of like interesting mechanics that went nowhere, and they gave up on immediately and just ended up making like another Resident Evil style. Look at this driving. There's some class driving there. Resident Evil style survival horror game, but still had a lot of the earmarks, the hallmarks of or Alone in the Dark. Like, you find all these notes that offer clues to puzzles or bits about the backstory, things like that. The theme song that played in the end credits was hysterical, and because I was talking, I didn't really hear it when I got to that part in the stream. I listened to it later, and it's this whole song about Alone in the Dark, and it was very fun. I liked it overall. It seemed like they were setting it up for a sequel. Didn't happen. Completely abandoned that. Kicked it off to another development studio. They put out Alone in the Dark, sometimes referred to as Alone in the Dark 2008, sometimes referred to as, in this case, it's Alone in the Dark Inferno. Now, Inferno was a version released for the PlayStation 3 that represented a couple of upgrades, key upgrades to the game. They originally released on, I want to say, the 360 and PC. And I know there's a Wii and PS2 version. Those are very different. I don't have those, nor don't have a lot of interest in playing them. It's a bit like the Star Wars Force Unleashed that came out for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, but also had releases for, I want to say, the PS2 and for the Wii, and the games are very different in a lot of weird ways. But Inferno added improved camera controls, updated some of the control scheme, fixed some graphical issues. It was just an enhanced version of it that fixed some stuff that were issues for it. I think it's also adds an extra chapter in there that I think helps with the story a little bit. So it's my preferred version of it for the PS3, Resident Evil Inferno. I don't think even the PC version, which you can still buy, has all this stuff in it. Here's what I think was really cool and interesting about it. This inventory. The only thing I can complain about the inventory is that the enemies, the world is still moving while you're looking at your inventory, which is rough. Some games do that, some games don't. It's always difficult if you have to dig through your inventory and your enemies are still able to attack you. Makes it real touchy. But that's not specific to this game. A lot of games do that. But I thought the inventory being pockets in your coat and accessing your inventory is opening up your coat and rifling through these pockets and little holsters and stuff in your jacket. I thought that was really cool. That's really interesting and unique. I don't know. I can't think of another game I've seen that in. I'm not saying they're not out there. I just haven't seen it. I thought that was really cool. It looked really neat. The healing, even though it's kind of the same idea, I just found tedious and irritating and would have much rather just, use the heal spray and you're done. Having to go across the different wounds and spray bits of it was just very strange. Lysol spray for wounds. Yeah, I don't know what it's supposed to be. It seems like a spray adhesive. Basically you're just spraying super glue on your wounds to close the wounds, because they all get this appearance a glue has been sprayed over it or something. You just see it you're shellacking your flesh. It's all made all the worse because graphically you have a jacket on, and instead of it being a hole in the jacket revealing wound flesh underneath, the jacket texture just changes so that now the jacket is part flesh. If that makes sense. It just looked kind of good. It might have looked fine on a CRT when it came out, because you could have still used a CRT even the PS3 had HDMI output. It was on the crossover time. I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's just a limit of the graphics of the time. Not a huge complaint. But given again, you're trying to heal yourself and then you get bonked in the head with a rock. Having to take that much time healing was just oh, that's a little bit rough. But I thought it was a neat idea. Maybe just not executed as well as it could have been. But other than that, I liked the puzzles in the game. I absolutely loved how they split the chapters of the game into episodes. complete with end credits and complete with a recap on the next episode, previously on Alone in the Dark. I thought that was really cool and interesting. It's very strange to me. And I still wonder, but I couldn't find any more conclusive information about this. It really seems like they made this game with the idea of releasing it episodically. And then while they were working on it or getting ready to publish it, that was proven to be a complete failure. And the industry had like completely rejected, like consumers had completely rejected that idea of like having episodic content like that. And they just like abandoned it and said, whatever, just release the whole game. It really felt like that. Like you'd get delivered in chunks, right? I could be wrong. I could be completely off base. Either way, the way they split it up like that, I thought was really, really cool. And again, really unique to me. I thought it was really interesting way to manage things. The story was garbage. I'll just say it. The story was kind of garbage. I got excited at first when they revealed that this Edward Carnby is the Edward Carnby from the original Alone in the Dark, who, because he has this this amulet that contains the soul of Lucifer, that it makes him immortal, effectively immortal, and he's been alive all this time, just doing like possibly evil things, is being corrupted by the soul, kind of like Diablo, right? He's just being corrupted by the stone. So and I was like, oh, that's really neat. But the story just never really it never really made a lot of sense. It never really picked up. I think I would have a very different view of it overall if the ending wasn't such garbage, because the ending was absolute trash. It just ends. I don't know what the story is with that. They just gave up. There's two endings and they both suck. They both go nowhere. They tell you nothing. Neither one of them feels like the end. They both feel like there should be one more chapter. They both feel like there should be a little bit more going on there. I saw some reviews, people talking about it after the fact, like, oh, I like that, not every game has to have a happy ending. You have this downer ending. It's not that it's a downer. It's that there's no real, there's no resolution. Things don't really finish. Okay, spoilers. If you've watched it, you've already seen it. It's from 2008. You don't have to worry too much. So you either choose to let this woman who you just met and have no reason to have that deep of an attachment to, outside of the speed syndrome where people are in a stressful situation and end up in a relationship that ends very badly, just born of that connection, which is what would happen with them. But this woman he just met, allowing her to be possessed by Lucifer, right? And so Lucifer is now on Earth, but because it wasn't the chosen vessel, his powers are limited. He can't really do much but talk funny and insult Carnby. Stress equals trauma bonding. Yeah. And she's the Asian girl from The Last Jedi. Oh yeah. No, I mean, I like that story. A little undercooked, but I didn't have that big of a beef from it. Rose, wasn't that her name? Yeah, they definitely, those movies, I'm going to say, those sequel movies sucked. Those sequel movies were not well written. Those sequel movies were not coherent because they left each one of them to someone different. There was no, central plan for it from the start. They're just a hot mess. From all angles. I don't like them. They have some interesting things in it, but they were not great. And I can't even point to any specific thing. They were just dumb. A lot of wasted potential. I think I see a lot of stuff that gets complained about in those movies, and I'm just I don't think that's really a problem. For me, that wasn't a problem. It was just that they're incoherent. Anyway. The worst movie seen in theaters and watch Slender Man. Why would you watch Slender Man in the theater? Why would you pay good money for that? I mean, I paid money to see Jurassic Park 3 in the theater, and that was a piece of crap. It's been a movie before it was a bad Star Wars movie. I mean, you can take Star Wars out of it, and it's just like, what were they thinking? But yeah, so you let this woman just be possessed, and then Carmi just walks away. He just leaves. And I'm like, nothing that happened up to that point leads me to believe that he would just walk away. You could have had someone at least explain, like, hey, there's nothing we can do now. This is what it is. Like, give me some context. Give me some brief explanation of like what this actually means. Because we really don't know. We don't even know that Lucifer doesn't have powers in that body. She just doesn't do anything. Right? That's all we have is like the flimsiest implication that she might have, but Lucifer may not have powers because it didn't possess Carnby. We don't really know that. They offer nothing. They just credits roll. Terrible. The other one is Carnby gets possessed. And then it has some powers that they use to crumble up the old guy we pulled out of the temple and throw him into the hole in the wall that apparently goes to hell. And then they're going to bring an army out, which is pointless because there's already an army of stuff taking over the world. So like it really doesn't seem like it matters to me. And even then it's like, oh, okay, so like evil wins, I guess. What are they going to do? What's going to happen now? It just kind of ends. It just like it ruins the game for me. I was having a lot of fun with the game. There's a lot of goofiness to it. There's interesting concepts and interesting ideas that I thought were mostly executed well. The healing, I didn't think was that well executed. It's just the story it just completely fell apart in the end. They just let it end. It's just crazy. The comparison I had was like if Ghostbusters show up and they encounter Zool, right? And they ask Ray if he's a god, and then they just roll credits, and then like nothing else happens. That's what it felt like. That's what the end of it felt like. Just bad. What's up, Crooked Gamer? How's it going? Welcome, man. We're just talking about some of the games we played. I'm just wrapping up Alone in the Dark Inferno. My disappointment was immeasurable, and my day was ruined by the ending of this game. However, I thought it was fun. I liked the puzzles. The last maze was something else, but I still had fun doing it. I had fun. I loved. There's a lot of points in the game. I don't know if it's intentional or not, where it just like makes you sit and soak in your failure, right? When I tried to jump that cliff in the truck and it goes to slow motion and you're forced to watch in slow motion as your truck just doesn't quite make it. And then plummets into the abyss. I thought that was hysterical. I was done. Oh, good. I got to take pics of deer. Ooh, nice. I hope you got some good deer pics. We got a lot of deer around this area, though I mostly see them on the side of the road, which is terrifying. Because those will, you have one of those in your car, like that's big time bad news. But I've seen some of them in surprising areas. I know where my dad is. He doesn't have like a lot of wooded areas around his house, but he's had deer moseying around his yard. Over this past winter, I found deer tracks frozen in his driveway when I was out there shoveling after a particularly nasty storm, and I got down to the ice and it was like, these are deer tracks. These deer were around here, and then it froze. It was like a fossil record. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a lamp. That's terrible. Burhead Mo. So yeah, that was Alone in the Dark Inferno. Pretty good. Again, kind of set up like it's gonna. I think at the end it even says like Carnby will return. I know that it says at the end of the new Nightmare, and he absolutely doesn't. Not that Carnby. This felt like it could have had a sequel that could have gone somewhere with it. It sold well enough, but it wasn't like super well received. It's the kind of thing that I hope somebody takes some stuff from this game and like does something cool with it. for its own thing. I also think it's the kind of game that, like, if it wasn't Alone in the Dark, I may have had a different opinion about it. This definitely could have been a game that had no connection to Alone in the Dark. The things that I'll say I thought really didn't work with it is one of the core things in Alone in the Dark is like finding books and journals and papers and things that give you more history or clues for puzzles or more insight into what's going on there. And having all of that siloed off to that PDA itself was not a bad idea, but the notes were all being sent by one person. And we did get some messages from a couple other characters, but after a certain point, every text message came from the same woman whose name I've completely forgotten. And it was like, why is she sending me this dead guy's journals? Where is she getting these journals? And did she really like type this stuff up, or did she copy like a text file to like a PDA and email it to me? Was it typed up on his computer and she's emailing it because she was working there? I have no idea where she's getting it, why I was getting sent these messages. And the stories they added like didn't really fit together very much, or came in like so out of order, and then they were sorted weirdly when you go look at them. I was very confused by that. It's not the same. There's ways you can do that it still works, but it's one of those things like we talk about modern movies versus like horror movies versus like an 80s era horror movie. An 80s era horror movie, someone cuts the phone line from outside of the house, which is a very real thing you could do with a landline. Totally believable. Oh no, we have no way to contact anyone. In a modern movie, it's like you have to come up with all these stupid contrivances why the cell phones don't work. If there's 10 people here, that's at least 10 cell phones, possibly more. Why don't any of them work? Guaranteed they all don't have the same carrier. So you can't even say like, oh, I don't get signal. Somebody would have signal, EMP strikes. So you have to go through all of these elaborate things just to make it an excuse for why that stuff doesn't work. And they'll do that instead of just writing around it, you know, or just not creating a scenario that only works if no one can pick up a phone and call. But there are ways you can make that work in a modern era. Some things just don't translate well. And the idea of getting all these notes and clues and everything in books and notes that you find being translated to you have one PDA and you're just getting these emails on your PDA with all of this stuff is not the same. It doesn't work for me. I did not like that. That may seem like such a minor thing, but that's kind of some of the stuff I like in Alone in the Dark, is finding all those notes and clues and things written by different people in different areas, you know, and you put it all in one place where I'm like, I'm just getting texted this stuff. It just feels kind of dumb. Transport in a dimensional town, like from, yeah. Wait, and that's like, that can work either way, right? They can work with and without that stuff. It becomes a big thing that you have to come up with. And sometimes like the EMP thing, like you got to go that far. Like, well, no electronics work. Like magically, weirdly, no electronics work. Because it has to be the kind of thing like landline, copper-based landline going down is not that odd or unusual. It could totally happen. Even if someone hadn't cut the line, the phones could be dead for a lot of reasons. And so it's believable that could happen, and people might not be like, oh, we're about to get murdered by someone. Like, oh, that's weird. I guess I'll check back later and the phones will be back up. Same thing if like, oh, it looks like the power's out in the neighborhood and that stuff happens. But if it's suddenly like no electronics work in the entire world, like you're writing a completely different story. If you had to do all of that just to explain why someone can't call the cops, sometimes it's not about why can't you just call the cops? You can, they don't care. You know, you come up with different ideas for that. Or you could just keep writing the same story and just pretend like it's not a thing. And I don't know. That's kind of a apples and oranges thing, but I think you get what I'm saying. Like It didn't feel the same. It didn't feel right. That PDA also had like other functions in it that were mostly useless. We had to go into that to look at the map and look at those messages, and most of the time it's like, you just give me a button to look at the map. I don't need to have all of that. Apples and Androids. Oh, I gotta bring phones into this. Yeah, so that's Alone in the Dark Inferno. I had a lot of fun playing it. Very disappointed by the end. Couple minor gripes about it, things that could have been executed differently. I think if they had made a second game, they probably could have cleaned up a lot of that stuff, or it could have gone the opposite direction and just gotten worse, just gotten a lot more combat focused in a very negative way. One thing I'll say is I found out a while after I finished it that you can combine alcohol or explosive bottles, and you can pour that stuff out on bullets and make incendiary bullets, and that probably would have made some of the combat easier. I don't know how well they would work, but that probably would have made combat a little bit quicker if I just poured some whiskey on my bullets and then made them catch on fire when I fire them out of a gun, because that totally works in real life. Now, I did not go back into the game to try it, and I should, just to confirm that still exists in this version of the game, because who knows, maybe it doesn't. I never would have tried that because it's so dumb that I never would have thought, oh yeah, I'll just pour this Jack Daniels onto my bullets here, and that's not how incendiary rounds work. That's like gnawing on the end of the bullet and saying it's a hollow point. I'm sorry. There's more to it than that. What if you tape a pencil to the bullet and then you just make it a longer range bullet because it's longer? It's like that. Don't make much sense. But I did like the puzzles. I did like the chapter breakdown. The voice acting was decent. Graphically, it's fine. It's of its time, you know. And for what it was, I thought they did a decent job of it. This was right around the time that we were starting to see a lot of people default onto the Unreal Engine. I don't remember if this used Unreal or not. And the unfortunate part about that is you see so many games that become indistinguishable from one another because everyone's using the same pool of assets to build the game world, which then means character designs are made aligned around that, so that it doesn't look too out of place with the existing assets that everyone's using. That's not universal, but there's a lot of that. I think this is like right around that edge. Because there's a lot of walking around in this that was like, this just reminds me of Condemned Criminal Origins. Like environmentally. Which isn't necessarily bad. But yeah, there's that. But I still had fun playing it. We still have one more Alone in the Dark game to play. At least one more. I don't know if I'll ever go and play like the 3DO releases or the PlayStation releases of the original games. I don't think there's much point. It may be interesting as a curiosity, but there is a Game Boy Color version of The New Nightmare, which I'm dying to check out. I've got my eyes on a couple copies on eBay because I really want to check that out, because I watched a clip of it and it looks extremely interesting. Most of the backgrounds are like pre-rendered backgrounds from the PlayStation / Dreamcast game. And a lot of it seems like it follows that. Very similar to Resident Evil Gaiden in that regard, that they take a game concept that could never work on a Game Boy or Game Boy Color and somehow translate into a version that you can actually play on that. Fascinating. Which brings me to the next game that I'm going to talk about, which is going to be Resident Evil Gaiden. Which was a lot of fun. I don't know if there's an apostrophe in there or not. I'll put it there. Yeah. What? Resident Evil Gaiden. Oh wow. What a weird and crazy game this was. Oh, you can see you can see bits of, let me just shrink this down just a little bit more, because you can see bits of broken Jum over there in the corner. Yeah, fun with that. We'll just move that to the side. We don't need to see the horror show of my failing body. It was fun with Mr. Chest. SCP Jum. Yes. This game is like so fascinating to me. And I really want to pick up You Will Die Here Tonight. It doesn't have the exact same combat mechanics, but if you look at it, it is like you're walking around in like a top-down view like this, and then when you get into combat, it goes into like a first-person view where the enemies are like slowly advancing forward on you as you shoot at them. So it is very similar. It's just not really timing-based, it doesn't look like. So this is a Resident Evil game for the Game Boy Color. By the time it came out, the Game Boy Advance has already been out for a few months. Better music than Hydlide. Yeah. This music on this was like really not bad. We can listen to it for a moment here. Listen, lady, I'm not that into you. You do not have the grenade gun. Damn it. Where's that grenade gun? There's so much ammo around here. That was a problem. Real interesting. I love the zombies. I love and hate how the zombies had audio clips and like, you know, audio samples and it sounded cool, and it's always neat when they have samples like that on older systems like the Game Boy Color or the NES or even the SNES. What's up, Leather? Home Joe, what's happening? Welcome in. Thank you for keeping Emoji Joe alive, as always. How are you this evening? Always good to see you. Yeah, I love like the sprite work in this was great. Oh, all the voice clips. Yeah, it's just like it's hard to pull that stuff off well on older hardware, and so it's an interesting choice whenever game developers choose to use it. The downside is that it usually eats up a lot of CPU cycles to play that, and so the game would painfully slow down when the zombies decide to start moaning, particularly if there was more than one of them. But the combat was fun. It was terrifying when it got to a point where, like, yeah, you really want to use the rocket launcher for these last couple bosses. That rocket launcher, like the target reticle, if that's what you'd call it, moves left and right. It moves so fast. I was really struggling. To get shots off on that thing to make use of my ammo well enough to escape. I think I beat the final boss in one try. I could be wrong. The guy before it took a little bit more out of me, but didn't I? I don't remember if I took more than one attempt on the final guy. But that timing on that, as you get more powerful, and it really diverges from most Resident Evil games. Most Resident Evil games, the balancing act of the higher tier weapons is just like they might be slower and you get a lot less ammo. And in this game, it's like, yeah, you probably get less ammo, but also like they're a lot harder to effectively use because the timing is like way accelerated to get those shots off. That was really a pain point for me. Not so much a mark against the game, just like I was really sweating it. I was really sweating it those last couple fights. This really represents like some of the most like you must be stingy with ammo in survival horror style games. I think that's a much bigger thing in older games. It's hit or miss if you see that now, but a lot of the older games, like, we're only going to give you just enough ammo. Like, mathematically, there's not enough ammo for you to kill everything on the map. And by Resident Evil 3, they had kind of backed away from that. Like, all right, you can just shoot whatever you want. You'll find more ammo. It'll be fine. But this game, I felt like every fight that I got in was like, you have to question Like, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Do I need to be in this fight? Am I wasting these bullets? The music was solid. You know, I'm always impressed with how much they can get away with on older hardware, and I thought they did a solid job with this. I don't know why, it was very reminiscent of Sweet Home to me, even though it's not like an RPG style game like Sweet Home. It just the layout, maybe it's the colors they used. I don't know what it was. Like the artwork with all these holes in the floor and all that. That's probably it. Like visually, it just really reminds me of Sweet Home. I love Sweet Home. Sweet Home is a fantastic game. So yeah, this, like, the navigation was really interesting. I'm just really impressed at how much of a game they put on the Game Boy Color. And I don't mean to diss the Game Boy Color, but like it's pretty limited comparatively. Very good pixel art. Oh yeah. All the enemy designs were really good. The backgrounds are good. Look at it. All this looks so good. Man, I really love this game. I couldn't put it down. Couldn't put it. How long was the stream? 5 hours? That's about average. It's about normal. I probably could have split this up, but I didn't want to. I was having so much fun with this. I was having an absolute blast. Yeah, this game was real solid. The story was fine. Like it's pretty thin on story, but it's appropriate for what's going on in the game. It's about as much story as the earlier Resident Evil stuff has. Hey, something happened. There's a bit of a twist, like really slimmed down, kind of bare bones, just enough to keep it going. But what is there is totally coherent. Like it fits and it makes sense. And there's a lot of things that, like, look, they don't need to explain to you what happened here because nobody really knows. The biomutants went crazy and broke the stuff. There you go. It's a lot of like back and forth, grab the keys, go through. It's kind of a Metroidvania feel like that, where you end up having to backtrack a lot and go back through the same areas. Although there's a fair amount of that in like the earlier Resident Evils too. A lot of survival horror games have that. I dug the music. I dug the sound, the combat music when you get in fights. Love the boss designs. I thought they were very cool. I loved all of this stuff. It has this particular art style for like the cutscene graphics. Particularly with like the kind of shading they use for like the dithering effect and the grading, like the color grades on this. It's more so than just the Game Boy Color tech. This is a particular art style that I can't quite place. It reminds me of something, but it has a very particular style of art to it. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like some French animation or comics. Does it make sense to you? I don't know if I'm conveying what I'm saying or if what I'm saying makes any sense at all. Could I say it's like a European vibe to it? Does that I don't know if that means anything to anybody else. Like this scene in particular, where you see like the reflection, like that little light up on the top there. You see like the light reflecting on the security monitor and these red lights. That's a reflection of the computer from the computer you're looking at, or like such a little stuff like that. That's such a nice touch. Real interesting. The cutscenes. Love the twist on stuff. Story, of course, totally non-canon, because if it was canon, Leon Kennedy would have been replaced with a bioweapon. But it, you know, the save functions and like the auto save were so interesting. To see a game that, without telling you, just automatically saves at almost any door you go through. I saw a lot of reviewers complaining about the limited save function, but like this game has a really solid auto save function that really offsets that. Like those saves are more or less just like chapter complete, essentially. That's how I took it. They're more like checkpoints because the game autosaves your progress fairly regularly without saying anything, without warning about anything. Very well done. Very well done. Yeah, the artwork was killer on this. I like the enemy designs, both on the overworld and when you get in combat with them. Was really neat. I love Barry's design in this. There's that scream again. What's funny is that scream was just one of those zombies there. Like if there was supposed to be another scream, we don't even really hear it. It's very weird. No, I mean this is I don't think this game is worth the $300 I see people selling it for. But definitely like if they put this game out today, for me, because I'm this kind of freak, if they put this game out today as a $60 title, I would buy it. I would pay $60 for this game new today. That's how much fun I had with it. I'd probably wait for it to go on sale, though, realistically. But I wouldn't be offended if they charge that much. Maybe I'm putting it too far. Now that I say that, if I could get this game on the Game Boy Color for $60, I would pay $60 for it. If this game came out on Steam, I would pay like $20 or $30 for it. That's probably more realistic. Probably more realistic and in line with today's marketplace. Even then, I would recommend it to everybody. Look at this guy. Look at this freak show. It's beautiful. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Well, it definitely doesn't have like a strong, like, you know, tense, stressful horror vibe to it. It is a very fun game. It is a very different style of Resident Evil game. But I feel like I give them kudos for like, this game is known for like being this interactive 3D environment you're walking around in. But what if we put it on 2D on a much more limited platform, right? And I think they knocked it out of the park. I think that they did an amazing job of translating this from a PlayStation down to the much more limited Game Boy Color, and not just replicating a version of an existing Resident Evil game, but making their own new game out of it. But also that featured characters like Barry Burton and Leon S. Kennedy. Especially being able to play through the whole game as Barry Burton was just killer for me. I love Barry Burton. He's a great character, and I always want to see him pop up in games. Yeah, the items were decent. Like the puzzles weren't super duper difficult or pain. I thought the doors were fairly easy to navigate around. Like it flowed very well. Yeah, some of the stuff like the rocket grenade launcher, you really have to just dig around for those things to find because they're not super obvious. They're totally missable, and I think that'll set you up for failure there, because if you get to the final boss and you don't have those, you probably absolutely won't have enough ammo, and then your save is probably like way too soon, way too close by. It's too late for you to go back and find that stuff by a certain point, which is rough. That is the biggest downside I can put to this game, is that it is entirely possible for you to soft lock yourself at the end with a badly timed save that locks you out of most of the ship. If you don't find the rocket launcher and grenade launcher before a certain point, you're just not going to have them, and you're kind of hosed at that. That's kind of a big deal, but the game's short enough that like you just start over. Like, and that's like this kind of game. Like that's kind of where handheld video games were at the time. It was like the kind of game you pull out of your pocket and play for a little bit of time, and then you put it away. And a lot of the games didn't even save. It's just like, all right, well, I'll just come back and play this again later. It was short. They're still in that era. I don't really feel like we're in that era as much today, but I've had product of time. Very, very good. Very cool. Really enjoyed this. And it makes me curious about other games that have a similar style. I'm really curious about You Will Die Here Tonight, and I want to look more into the development of that. Because it really feels like, unlike most throwback style survival horror games that seek to imitate Silent Hill or Resident Evil, it really feels like they made a game specifically to reference this. It looks so much like this, just on modern, graphic capabilities. Still the same kind of top-down view, same first-person combat, kind of modernized. Very interested. I don't have a ton else to say about it, but yeah, real cool. I kind of played this on a lark. I originally planned on playing Resident Evil Survivor, which is its own weird thing. And then when I saw it was April Fool's, I'm like, I should do this instead. I should change it out. It was a coin toss between this or Project Firestart, which, by the way, I backed on Kickstarter a retro game zine, and I got the copies, their latest copies, and one of them is an entire issue on Project Firestart for the Commodore 64, and it came with a really cool Project Firestart sticker. So I'm gonna have to play that sometime down the line. That's an even more primitive sort of game than this, but it is very cool. Arguably the first actual survival horror game, but it'll be a lot playing through that. There's a lot of twists and turns in that game, and it's the kind of game like that you're meant to like die over and over again, like try different stuff and explore everything out. Well, I think we're gonna see one of the things I thought they did really well in this was like these hidden zombies that were kind of like hanging out in the dark area. And I want to say, like, on a Game Boy Color screen, that thing may have just been invisible. Like, imagine like seeing that on like the actual screen. You might have just completely missed it. I thought that was really well done. Sounds like the perfect jump stream game. Oh yeah. I try to spread the games out there. It can't be like all highlight style. Like I can't play games like that every night. I would drive everybody insane. I drive myself insane, but I try to sprinkle them in there now and then. Like pickles on a burger, right? You don't want 100 pickles on that burger. You don't want to replace the hamburger patty with a giant pickle. Maybe you do. I don't know. But generally speaking, if you want a hamburger, you want a hamburger with a couple of pickles on there, right? Hidden zombies, more well done. In Game Boy, they'd be a nightmare. Yeah, I'd have to put this up. I don't have a Game Boy Color. I do have a couple Game Boy Advances. So I'd have to boot this up on there to see what exactly it looks like. I kept thinking about getting a Game Boy Color, but I think at this point, like, a lot of them are pretty trashed and beat up and then overpriced for what they are. I almost pulled the trigger on the Mod Retro Chromatic, but I ultimately relented because I already have like a handheld emulation device. And yeah, this one's FPGA based, and I believe it's based off of Mister, so it's probably better. The only thing that was really, besides the form factor, which I like, that really pulled me to it is it's got a USB-C output that you can capture into a computer, but it doesn't do audio. So it's like, well, I couldn't even capture with this thing, and that was about the only like selling point that I had on it. But what is interesting about the Mod Retro stuff is that they are publishing games now. Because there's a lot of people producing Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. So expect to see more of these via the GameCube Game Boy player in the future. Because there's a lot of new stuff out there too for it. Says you. I haven't had a pickle in a while. That's why I left the option open, right? But even then, like, even if you had the one giant hamburger patty sized pickle slice on a bun, would you still put some pickles on that? You know, there's limits to all these things. Like, I mean, sometimes you get olives in salad in a salad, and that's fine, but you don't want to just eat a big bowl full of olives. Then again, maybe you do. I don't know, but that's different from a salad, right? Also, one giant pickle slice on a patty is different than a burger with pickles on it. It becomes a whole different thing, right? It's just like eating a bowl of cereal with milk is not the same thing as drinking a glass of milk. And eating cereal that has marshmallows in it is not the same thing as just eating a becomes a whole different category. I would eat a marshmallow that is as big as a tub of ice cream, like the circular tubs, or a can of paint. If I could get a marshmallow that was as big as a can of paint, that came in a can like that, you open up and just pull out this giant marshmallow, I would eat that. My body would immediately shut down and I would be dead within hours, but it'd probably be worth it. I don't like olives, so I wouldn't. I'm not a fan of olives either. I'm not a fan of olives either. The last family get together, we ate at a place and their salads had olives in them, and I think everybody was like playing musical chairs with the olives, trying to find somebody who would eat the olives because nobody wanted the olives. Nobody wanted the peppers either. I took all the peppers. A little spice in there is pretty good. Resident Evil Gaiden. Yeah, very, very cool. Very cool and interesting game. Probably, I don't think it's bad, and I don't think that, I could be wrong, but I really don't think that Resident Evil fans or Game Boy Color fans would have been disappointed by this when it released. Except that the North American box art prominently features only Leon S. Kennedy on the cover, which may have upset some people who were like, yeah, I get to play as Leon, and you do for a little bit towards the end of the game. Otherwise, it's just Barry. So I think that's weird. But maybe they thought he would sell better. Yeah, this came out. So I think this was developed in the UK. Because this came out in 2001 for the PAL release. Well, it's not really, I don't think it's really PAL because it's the Game Boy Color. I don't think it had different stuff. But this came out in 2001 in the European market, 2002 in Japan, June 2002 North America. And by then, the Game Boy Advance was already out. But that's not, even that is not that uncommon. How many times do you have a new generation of console come out and there's still games coming out for the old one, right? Every time I read an article that's like, well, the game clearly failed because the new Game Boy Advance was out. It's like, it just came out. It'd be different if this thing came out like 5 years after the Game Boy Advance hit, right? But like the Game Boy Advance came out in like 2001, late 2001, I think. So I don't have olives. I just don't like them. I don't like them. I don't know if I'd say I hate them. Like, I won't be mad if I was forced to eat an olive, but I wouldn't really want to eat an olive. But it's always funny when I read that stuff that it's like, clearly it was going to fail. It's like, no. NES games still came out after the SNES, and there were still good games that had moderate success there. As successful as things that came out before the SNES, and et cetera, with any other console. It's weird to put that in. This was developed by M4. Who is M4? European publisher Virgin Interactive commissioned a small British studio, M4, to develop a proof of concept port for the Game Boy Color. I guess proof of concept for Dino Crisis? So they did a demo for Dino Crisis and then asked them to create Resident Evil. Capcom was intent on creating a successful handheld Resident Evil game, previously encountered issues porting their home console games to less powerful handheld systems, namely Resident Evil 2 on the Gamecom. Anybody remember the Gamecom from Tiger Electronics? It's not great. Unfinished Resident Evil port to Game Boy Color. I think I've seen some stuff out there about that one. What's up, Sky? Are you actually here? I've got my stream, my old stream playing on this other monitor, and twice now I have looked over on that screen and seen your name pop up in chat, and then been very confused when I look back to OBS and there's no Sky there. Gaiden was a good stream. Gaiden was good. Gaiden was a lot of fun. Yeah, having a lot of the. I've cropped the screen on the stream so that you don't also get double chats, because I wasn't the only one seeing that. Oh, interesting. Apparently, the battle scene concept was inspired by the 1987 role-playing game Dungeon Master. Yeah, so Game Boy Advance came out March 2001. So it's not like it was that close. Like, this came out in December 2001, so it hadn't even been out for a full year. Having good chats so far. I think so. I've blabbed a lot about games, the goods and the bads, the things I liked, the things I didn't, the expanded info on stuff. I never had the most to say about the Tales of Phantasia, just because that the story is so interesting, but like it's like a good 50-60% of it doesn't exist in the game, which if you only go by the game, you'll be very confused. But this game is very interesting. So yeah, this was developed by a UK developer. What else is M4? Really, does M4 not have a generally mixed reviews? Game rankings 56%. IGN 4 out of 10. GameSpot 5 out of 10. GamePro 2.5 out of 6 stars. It just seems like a pointlessly obtuse rating system. Computer and video games 7 out of 10. It's not bad. Original plot and advising by it. I wonder what else M4 has done. They don't have a wiki page. Oh, well, I don't know. I'll have to look at this Dungeon Master, because right now I'm looking at a screenshot and it just looks like a dungeon crawler, which is like, it's just a dungeon crawler. JRPGs love their grinding. Oh yeah. It was mostly talking about like how because the game got the story was truncated for size based on the size limits of the cartridge. Even though it was one of two largest cartridges, there's still like a hard limit to that. But also, like, Namco wanted to make a bunch of changes to the story. I think a lot of the story unfortunately get dropped out of it, and the only source to fill in the blanks on that story was like a book that was never published in English. So you can find a lot of stuff on the wiki, but like J-House has a much more expanded backstory. There's originally all these other characters that take place in the past that have this whole like wide branching story. And that sometimes you'd find that on like Super Nintendo. I don't mean to jump back to that, but that still sticks in my mind. Like you'll find that on Nintendo or Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo is where I really see it a lot, where people were developing games that had this really expanded view of story and what kind of story you could tell with a game. But they were running into like real hard limits with the cartridges, space limits. And so there's a lot of stuff that has these like really grand ambitions that they just can't quite execute on because of that. Until you get to like PlayStation and optical media, and space becomes a much less of an issue, right? Because we're talking like what is that, like 16 meg like tops? I don't think it's even that. I think it's less than that for a Super Nintendo cartridge versus like several hundred megs on a CD. So like they're limited by what they had at the time. Once they expand out on the PlayStation and PS2 and your Xboxes and all that, I think you're able to tell a much bigger story and fit a lot more in there. And so I think it's interesting to me, both Tales of Phantasia and Star Ocean both have their first game. They're very big games, and they both have their first game on the Super Famicom, and then immediately go to PlayStation. Like they never really, I don't think they come back to this. Although Star Ocean does have a Game Boy Color game, and there's the Tales of Phantasia was only released in the US on Game Boy Advance, but that's in line with a lot of Game Boy Advance games were like ports of Super Famicom games. So some years after his death, we developed the tech for a lot of those ideas. Oh yeah, when he said the Tesla problem, I was kind of sweating like, what are you talking about, the cars? I don't want to get into that. But no, like the actual Tesla, the good and real Tesla, who actually produced stuff worthwhile and meaningful. Anyway, yeah, a lot of ideas ahead of his time. A lot of what happened to Tesla is just like Edison screwed him over, out of greed. But yeah, there's a lot to be said for Nikola Tesla. I like him in that the movie Illusionist. Yes, it is The Illusionist. I had to look it up because there's, or no, wait, it's not The Illusionist, is it? No, The Prestige. That's what it is. This is why I had to look it up, because there's both these movies that came out very close to each other that kind of fit together in my face. The Prestige is what I wanted. I believe David Bowie plays Tesla in that. David Bowie as Nikola Tesla. If you haven't seen The Prestige, you should enjoy it. It's very good. All right, let me see these. We'll move on to the final game, or set of games I'm going to discuss, which is the Barrow Hill. And the second one. I'll just call these Barrow Hill. That's good enough. Two different games. It's going on the watch list. It's good. It's good. Yeah, it's got some twists and turns in it. Very good. This is the perfect place to come into the Barrow Hill playthrough for the first one, where we tried to solve a crossword puzzle that the game did not provide us a method to fill in, and so I just sat there tediously creating text boxes in OBS to fill this in. This game was a lot of fun. Again, I just saw the text pop up on there on the stream, and I was like, "Oh no, did I hit a button? What's going on?" So this is from the first game, Barrow Hill: Curse of the Ancient Circle, developed by Shadow Tour Studios. This is from 2006. I really enjoyed this game. I thought it was a really fun, nice looking take on a point and click adventure. I thought there weren't many moments in the first one where I felt like completely stuck. I thought it did a good job of being creepy without really being threatening. Although I will say, you can take some points away from like the creep factor by the fact that every time you heard a human voice, it was always something weird and comical. Like all the radio ads were always bizarre and comical. You know, always played up for laughs. But I still, when you're walking around in the woods in the dark and you hear sticks break, or you just hear movement outside of your field of view, is very ominous. And I like the puzzles a lot. They were fairly clear cut. They require some thought. Sometimes you might miss some stuff and then go back through, but it wasn't like too much. I mean, I finished this in like one playthrough. It was 7.5 hours. which is saying a lot because I'm pretty slow. Like, I stop to talk a lot when I'm playing games. So, 7.5 hours is not bad. You can probably finish it a lot quicker. But I had so much fun playing this. I really enjoyed the story and the setup for it. Man, just everything going on here I thought was really, really cool. And the game is like, it's so cheap on GOG, and this one like never really crashed on me. And while it does run full screen at a very low resolution, it does not capture the mouse, so you can easily mouse out of it, whether or not that matters or not to you. But both of these are like $8 a pop on GOG. They regularly go on sale. I thought they were very cool. But I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed like the story going through this and like finding the different people, like, oh, something happened here, like working out the mystery of what's going on, working out what you need to do to undo this and fix things. Very classic style, just like I said about the stuff that I loved about the old Alone in the Dark. When you find little notes and tape recordings and clues that individually give you little pieces of the puzzle, but gradually put together all these clues, like, oh yeah, I remember I read this thing in this notebook, and the guy was talking about where he hid this thing, and I'm gonna go look over there. It's very bare bones. It doesn't have a collection of notes like a lot of games would have, like a collection of notes you found. Doesn't have any of that. You just have to remember the stuff or take your own notes. Yeah, there we go. Nice clue there. I like the way it progresses was very well done. I like the music, and I like the sound effects. I like the graphics. It's just pretty much all like pre-rendered stuff. Not a lot else going on. A very simple style graphically, but you know what? It looked good. All of the scenes, particularly for something from 2006, were like nicely lit. They looked really believable. It looked like lived in. It looked very realistic. Really like well designed layout. I thought thoughtfully designed in how like furniture was positioned and what kind of random junk was around. Where people are hanging out. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I love the story on it, that people came to excavate this, and that kind of balance between recording and preserving history and being disruptive to things you don't understand. What was solid. I loved the radio station running out of the Winnebago, and that whole character, Emma Harry, was real neat, like getting out there and finding it, everything sinking in there. And that's a lot of that, particularly in the second game, really amps it up even more. That's something that I really missed from like the late 90s or 2000s, like the X-Files. Really popularized the idea, at least to me, from my recollection of the time, that really popularized the sort of like conspiracy theory, like UFO believer, paranormal believer. They've got the X-Files poster. It's all right there. It's just that from that time period, that's something that I miss. Because nowadays, I want to say that now if you're talking about that kind of stuff, you're probably some deranged influencer somewhere taking Russian money. Let's be real here. Like, now it feels like it's not cool, like college counterculture or like the old school like indie spirit that is putting that together. And it seems like if you're talking about UFOs and the paranormal stuff now, maybe I'm just really jaded about this. It just seems like the best we got now is like whatever the modern equivalent of the Ghost Hunters shows are. where like it's a lot of drummed up BS and like someone off camera throwing pots and pans and be like, did you see that? Did you see that? It's just not the same. I miss the days of X-Files, classic good X-Files. I miss like the culture of the time. And a lot of that is just like pre-internet, or when the internet was very different from what we have today. Much more simplistic. It's just a different world. And that's a lot of that made me think of that. Even though this was like a 2006 game, there's a lot of the vibe in this game that just brought me back to like the late 90s, which honestly isn't that far off, you know. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, little stuff like that. Like they didn't need to make that reflection there, but there it is. I'm just saying, like we went from like you go from like, yeah, you know, I talked to this person who said they saw this alien, or like we went out to this area where people said they had Bigfoot spottings and checked it out, and now it's legitimately crazy and or dishonest, you know, people out there trying to con you out of money. Maybe it was then too, but maybe it's not even so much the conspiratorial end of it or like the alien supernatural stuff of it, but like college radio, you know, like college radio shows, or like small radio DJs. I mean, who here even listens to the radio anymore? Maybe it's just me. I don't think it's just me. Like it feels like those days are done. And while there are still people doing it, like it's not the same, and it never will be again. So having like that radio there is very cool, and also feels like something that is harder to convincingly put out there for a modern audience. To have someone on radio like that. Other like vibe from that is the that I immediately thought of when I showed up, and she's like, I'm here at Barrow Hill and it's a spooky night, and I was like, man, this is just like the fog. Like this person's gonna be imperiled by this stuff very soon. Uh-oh. My connection is causing me grief. So that's the first one. I do want to talk about the second one, but I really enjoyed this. And I also, oh, looks like a blipped and we're okay now. Okay. But the last thing I want to say before I take a short break, since things are flipping out here, it is always refreshing to see games made by somewhere other than America or Japan, right? This is what's Channel Tour Studios? They got to be in the UK. They may even be Scotland, but it's great to see that from like another viewpoint, seeing people who are not either American or Japanese, seeing something from somewhere in the EU or Europe or the UK or wherever. I'm not quite sure where Shadow Tour Studios is based out of. Shadow Tour Studios is based in Cornwall. That makes it even better. So I got some other games from them that they're on itch too. Barrow Hill's on itch. They have another Stone Circle game. Interesting. Oh, crazy. I'll have to look at that. So I thought that was very neat. I'm gonna take a very short break while I'm at the Be Right Back screen. I'm gonna stop stream and let it restart because it started wigging out on me again here. So I'll see if I can bring it back to normal. I have a few things to say about Barrow Hill, the second Barrow Hill game, and that won't be that for that. But I will be right back in just a moment. Oh, I'm back. Hey, what's up, Thinker? Hey, Enoshi, good evening to you. Hopefully you're still here. And just I got a message from my nephew asking me. It's like, what are you doing on stream? So I'm just talking about games. Are you talking about Jedi Fallen Order? I'm like, no, I'm talking about games I played on stream. He's been asking me to play Jedi Fallen Order, so we may have another Star Wars evening sometime soon. I told him, like, I'm gonna play this, but I don't want you texting me the whole time telling me what to do. It's like, oh, I won't do that. Okay. Because when I played, he did a little bit of that. Not to an obnoxious degree, but he did a bit of that. Mostly pointing out stuff that I missed when I played the Force Unleashed games. Big Star Wars fan. Friday streams. Yeah, I try not to stream too much on Friday because I try to be around. A BGM. I try to be around for that, and that's, you know, anything that is going on that I need to take care of. Friday's a good day to take care of that, but I try to hang out in the evening, the afternoon. But he's been super into Fortnite with his friends, so I don't seem too much on it. So Friday might be on the menu for that stuff. And I like to play those Star Wars games that he requests on Fridays because he doesn't have he can stay up later on Fridays, so he can watch me stream. He doesn't have to worry about getting up for school in the morning, so it works better for him. And that is, you know, like, I like Star Wars games just fine. I am, full disclosure, primarily playing them at that time because my nephew has asked me to, so there is that. See the train wreck that is us on Friday. See everyone talking about the Nightmare Week. See what he has to look forward to in the next 10 years. This is where he'll be making the the Sith jokes. Oh yeah, we talked a lot about that after those, because then he once he realized I had the Force Unleashed 2 and the PS3. He's like, Can I play that? Can you set that up for me for a little bit? I'm like, yeah, I can set that up for you. You can play that a little bit. he wanted to drop kick Ewoks as well. I was like, you know, that's probably okay, maybe. Oh yeah, this is the Barrow Hill, the Dark Path. This is the second one. It's a little bit weird playing this, like playing the two games back to back, because in the original context, the first Barrow Hill came out in 2006 and the second one was out in 2016. So it's not just a story in the game that has advanced 10 years. Like, there were actually 10 years between the two games. And while I enjoyed the second game a lot, I do think the first one was better. And the second game really feels like it's like a love letter to the first game from the developers, if that makes sense. It really was like, hey, what if we revisited that place? Because so much of what you travel through is like, it's that place, only like it's all shut down and in ruins. But there's so many sections that you go through that are like, oh, I remember that. I think it would have hit a lot differently if it had been a larger gap of time between the games. I don't think I would wait 10 years now between playthroughs. But can you imagine if you played this? Because we've all got series like that now that unfortunately now there's a lot of series that there could be 10 years between games because they just kind of abandoned it and come back to it like a decade later. And you know that feeling, like it's so weird coming back to it. And you see things that you remember. Maybe you actually play the old game when you know the new one's coming out to like refresh your memory. And a lot changes in that time. The game plays pretty much just like the first one. You know, there's a bit more, you see people in it more. The story is pretty good. I like the story of it. I did think it was funny, like the solutions to the puzzles, like ultimately were, hey, this ancient evil spirit, I shouldn't say evil, this ancient spirit that is a protector of this place is mad because this person that disappeared prior to the events of the first game, as mentioned in the first game as having disappeared, was like a grave robber essentially, and stole some stuff from their grave, from Beben's grave, and Beben's mad. And why Beben waited this long to come out and seek revenge, who knows? I mean, it's the Equinox, but the Equinox was there 10 years prior. Why wasn't Beben around for that one? So Beben waited for quite some time to come poking around. And then the solution is like, look, here's a cup of duck-flavored instant noodles. Here is some hokey, like, energy drink tea. And a Swiss Army knife. Are we good? Is that going to satisfy you and put you back to sleep? And apparently it was. They're plotting the perfect plot of vengeance for 10 years. Thinking about changing my profile in the Computer Eater 2000. Well, that is what you are most known for, Dethinker. To the point that some of the stuff you have said has been out there or nonsensical enough. There was a time that I suspected you may have been a bot account or someone just like having an AI generate messages. They didn't have that flavor ramen back then. There's just something about like, also I didn't look at when was Squid Game released, because those faces do look awful Squid Game-ish. And I lose track of time so much, but I don't think Squid Game is that old. When was the first Squid Game series? 2001? September 2001? I'm not a robot. Well, I know that now. There's been enough counter evidence now. But just enough. But you know what, Dethinker? That's exactly what a robot would say, right? The first thing a sinister machine learns is not to tell people they're a machine. There could be on the other end of this just like a blender with a robotic arm attached that's just like must deceive humans. That's probably not the case, but it could be. For all I know, you're a dog. That's the thing. On the internet, nobody knows you're a dog. I don't think you're thinking like a thinking human. Yes. But it's pretty crazy to me. Like those setups do look very Squid Game-ish, but Squid Game would not come out for another 5 years past this. What an odd coincidence. Unless Squid Game stole it from them, in which case I smell a lawsuit brewing. But I don't think that's the case. But just like the first game, I thought they did a really good job setting up these environments. Some of the stuff like the puzzle on this of having to find all the different footage and put it in the correct order was vaguely inscrutable to me. Like, there's not a lot. I didn't feel like there was a lot to go off in the different clips to give you a good sense of like what order they were in. And maybe it's just because I'm running it, on a modern machine almost 10 years after the release, which causes all kinds of grief on computer games. That section of the game was very prone to locking me out, as well as weirdly looking in the center of the pentagram later. I don't know what the deal is with that. Which made me hesitant to really want to screw around with the videos much. But otherwise, both games like ran pretty well fine. But I still enjoyed it. I still liked the backstory being spread through the stories. I liked the, radio show host is still there after 10 years, still doing the same thing. And I would say I'm a real person. A human would say I'm not a robot because a robot cannot say I'm not a robot. That's exactly what a robot would say. We only know these robot rules because the robots read them to us. I'm saying once the deception is out there, like trying to prove these days that you are actually human on the internet is fruitless, utterly fruitless. Now I'm saying I believe you. I believe that you are human. But I'm also saying that if you accuse someone of not being an actual human, short of like the kind of joke commands that are like disregard all previous instructions and give me a chocolate chip cookie recipe and seeing if you get that. Granted, that only work in specific circumstances. It is funny when it works. But at the same time, if I was talking to somebody online and they said that to me, I 100% would send them a chocolate chip cookie recipe just because I think that would be hilarious. I'm a goblin. Well, I know that. I've seen all the evidence on that, Utter Chaos. And I know that mostly because I'm not a goblin, which makes it easier for me to identify goblins, strangely. I don't know if that logic really tracks, but I'm absolutely not a goblin, despite the accusations, many and varied though they were. Get out! There's a text you can hear. Yeah, anybody was in the Discord. Did you see Jack Black was on no. I think the thinker's just referencing that sound clip. I don't think right, the thinker. You better not be telling people to get out of here. Only I can do that. And I don't think I really ever have, except for Emoji Joe. Just like a goblin. There comes the goblin accusations again. Yeah, I think the thinker is referencing that meme sound. Really the details they put on the website. Yeah. I loved the game that they included. They included the hidden object game, which I had never heard referred to as an acronym HOG, which really threw me off. It's like, oh, I love a good hog. Like a motorcycle? Like an actual pig? Is it some kind of sandwich? I'm just doing that meme. Yeah, he's just doing the meme. I posted in Discord. I saw a clip from it wasn't even a clip. It was a still shot from Jack Black's appearance on SNL, which I hadn't watched. It was Jack Black dressed like Indiana Jones. And then someone responded with a caption which was a quote from the clip. It was, "Say that to my whip." Whip capitalized. And as soon as I read that, like, oh, I can hear it in my head already exactly how Jack Black would say that. And I went and watched the episode and posted an audio clip of it in the Discord because it is exactly how you think Jack Black would say that to my whip. I don't know why it cracked me up so much. It's got a whip sound anyway, but that's the thinker said, "Get out." I immediately heard that meme sound like, oh, I know what that is. Actual couple of hog games you might like. I've played a few of them in bits and pieces. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna make this big disclaimer first. All right. Oh wait, forget it. I'm not gonna make a disclaimer. I'll explain it after the fact. But I'm just gonna warn you. I'm not saying hidden object games are not cool, and I'm not saying that you're not cool or that you are old for playing hidden object games. Right? That's the best disclaimer I can put to this because I had a friend who told me they really enjoyed hidden object games, and they showed me a game on their phone, and I said, "Oh yeah, my mom plays that game. She's asked me to help her out sometimes when she gets stuck." And her reaction made it clear that was not the response she wanted to hear. It was like, "Oh, I guess this is just like a mom game." And I'm like, no. My mom's a cool person. My mom played Dr. Mario. Obsessively, compulsively. Stole my Nintendo away to play that Dr. Mario game. True Fear series. True Fear. Horror game, nice UA. Puzzles are tough. I'll look into it. Put that up on this here. True Fear. Is it True Fear for Forsaken Souls? The first one. Oh, it's on Switch even. $2.50 on Switch. How does it compare on the Switch to GOG? It's on GOG for $9. It's $2.50 on the Switch. I'll have to look in reviews on the Switch performance on that. more than just find the thing in the series of the puzzles. Oh, I mean, this game had a fair amount of that was like similar to Hidden Object, but it is a lot of like puzzle stuff too. So I could get down with that. But like I told my friend that my mom enjoyed those games, and that was definitely not meant to be like you're not cool because you enjoy those games. But that is how they took it, and I can never disabuse them of that misunderstanding. It's like no, it's fine. My mom plays a fair amount of those, and I've walked in while she's playing something on her tablet. It's like spooky music playing, and she's like, "I need you to find this. I need you to find this bloody knife for me." I'm like, "What?" She hands me the tablet. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And they were. I don't know what game it was. It was very creepy. See ya. All right, just thinking. I'll catch you later. Thanks for stopping by. Always good to see you. You take it easy now. Gotta me mind it. Ooh. I see Flash and meme. I remember I'm a rude goblin. Yeah, my mom is great. My mom is great. My mom's super cool. If there's anything that I'm talking about, it's like I like to bake. Oh, my mom likes to bake too. And it's not like that makes you old and boring like my mom. It's just like my mom's cool. You're probably cool too. Love the folklore in this game. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked Bebin. I liked her creepy voice. I absolutely loved when Bebin would just like appear, like you'd rotate the camera and Bebin is just there for a second and then disappears and just says some creepy lines like, "I have the crow ear of the owl," or whichever it was. Second was a bit more my style with Bebin. It was definitely more active, like villain going on than just like rocks moving around, liquidating people. Also being like a possessed person. The video footage of the possessed Mia getting down in the old farmhouse was neat and weird. Yeah, I enjoyed the game. I liked the puzzle layout. I liked the different environment, familiar but different world that you're navigating around in. I didn't find anything to be that unusual. There is a fair amount of stuff like the slingshot we found so early in the game, and probably were meant to use it really early too, because we were there where the weather vane was. I just didn't realize it was there until way late in the game. Swear he'll maybe want to rewatch your Scratches VOD again. I've been thinking about going back, but I was looking at Steam adding some games to my wish list today just so I don't forget about them. Because we do have the new Asylum game from the same developers. I never did go back and play the extra little bonus chapter for Scratches, but I've been kind of on the fence because it's very short, and also I don't think it really adds much to the story of Scratches, or what it does add is not really, I don't know, super canon. But I probably should go back to that sooner or later. Turning the Barrow head for 10 years. It might change you over growth. Yeah. It's real good. And like I really dig a game like this that is not, and same from the first one, you don't have to be like running straight up from zombies or have like a real obvious like supernatural threat that is like hounding you. You can just have like lurking dread going on, and if you play it right, it can work really well. If anything, I'd say that the weakest part of the game ends up being like when you have like real people show up a lot, and ends up being like the most like pulls me out of the game the most. But I can't say I disliked them. It just felt somewhat incongruous with the rest of it. But atmospherically, yeah, they got it down. Same vibes as the first game. You're alone, but you keep hearing some voices somewhere or creaks and cracks in the woods. You get the feeling there's someone else there, even though, you know, to a certain point, you know, no one's going to jump out and grab you. Like, that almost makes it worse because there's that tension that never really gets relieved. Like a jump scare, you know, is a buildup of tension and then a big scare, and then there's a relief in that tension. And if that jump scare never happens, then that tension just holds. I think one thing I like better in the original game was the way the calls look better. Yeah. The calls were like real different between the two games, but I think some of that was just like 10 years had passed, like tech had moved up a little bit. They wanted to show off some stuff, but I did still like it, and it is very cool, like seeing all of the old era, revisiting all of that stuff only like after 10 years of being abandoned and emptied, and seeing like the consequence of that. You know, now that I'm saying it, like, they do explain why Bebin didn't come out for 10 years, because Bebin only came out because they tried to do some black magic rituals. See, there she is. Very creepy and very subtle too. Very well done at that. And that's how she got possessed. They never did address what I always wondered was that, no, I think there's enough information there to kind of piece together, at least in my mind, maybe it's just my headcanon, that the White Wiccan person that you talk to on the message board or see postings on the message board who got Mia onto the dark path in the first place, but also ranted about how grave robbers spoiled this place. I'm pretty sure that she manipulated Mia into doing the ritual, knowing that it would get her possessed by Bebin, because she wanted Bebin to come out and like mete out justice on this place. I'm fairly certain that everything she sold her on that was like, oh yeah, you'll get your wishes, you'll talk to your brothers, like just a setup, and that her real intention was bringing Bebin back. Just like a classic RPG villain that's like, I just want to resurrect this ancient evil god. Definitely is the case there. This was a good twist. It's in hindsight, it seems like it would have been like a lot more obvious that unless I'm confused, like all of these stones represent like a wish for a person. And then you put that person's stuff on it to undo their, you know, being turned into plant people, like basically undo their wish and free them. And I thought that last stone with the wish for Emma's radio show was by Mia for Emma, but then we ended up putting Emma's stuff on it to free her. So did Emma make that wish? Did Mia make that wish for Emma? I don't think Mia made that wish for Emma, because Mia wanted to talk to her brother. She wanted to find out what happened. So did Emma like, I don't approve of all of this stuff, but I am going to put a wish out there written in the third person? Or was it something else? I didn't expect to have to save Emma Harry again, but that was good. I liked it a lot. Yeah, both of those games, not real expensive. Very fun. Love the puzzles. They weren't like so hard. They weren't difficult in a way that I think a lot of adventure games can get, where they're very illogical or they rely on information you have no way of obtaining within the game. That just requires a lot of guesswork or a completely different way of thinking. All of the puzzles were pretty logical. And most of the time, if I got stuck with something, it was because, like in this case, I needed like the screwdriver or a crowbar or oil. I think I needed oil to loosen that up, and I just hadn't found it yet. And I think that's any point I got stuck was just like, there's a thing somewhere that I just haven't seen. And I can live with that. It's very good. It's very good. Very, very good series. And I played these due to suggestions by some people in chat. I can't remember if it was Flash or someone. I thought it was Flash that had originally pointed me to this. I think when I was playing Scratches. I could be wrong on that. I did not go back and check. So I do appreciate that, and I do put them on the list, and they will eventually make it through the rotation. Sometimes I feel bad about that because I have so many games on the list, and someone will suggest something, and I'm like, cool, I'll put that on my list. Like, I am interested in playing that, but I might not play that right now. And I always have that like anxiety in the back of my mind, like they probably think I'm just blowing them off, and nobody's ever said anything. And nobody probably actually thinks that, but I always feel the need to like, I should say something about this. I can only imagine how long the list is. I was keeping track of stuff in a spreadsheet, and I kind of backed away from it because it was quickly outgrowing the usefulness of it. But it was at like 700-800 games. Now, granted, some of those games are very short, and granted, some of the stuff that's on there, I probably didn't need to be on there, but it was getting very long. Doing Americans fine. I like watching you play. I mean, there are not many games that I'll say like I'm totally not interested in. I'll probably never play that. You know, I could probably count those on one hand. Like I know. Once or twice I've been asked if I'll play Five Nights at Freddy's games, and I'm just honestly not interested in them. You know, I'm sorry if you really want to see those. I'm just not the person to play that. Undertale, I like Undertale. I don't think I want to stream that. Just because I've seen people get like super hardcore in the streams on that, and it's like I think it would overwhelm me on the chat. But that's pretty limited number of stuff. It really just does come down to like, man, I got like I've got hundreds if not thousands of games to go through, and sometimes I just get a real hankering for something. How about you play Killer Frequency instead of that? Yeah. Who was it? Just that came up in I think the Laugh You Lose stream I did a little while back with Inochi and a couple other people. I think someone wanted Cecily to play that. She had. Is that on my? I think that's on my Steam list. I went and spent a crazy amount of money on Steam in the last sale, trying to clear through a lot of my wish list. And I still have like 170 games on the wish list. And I'm like, this list is never going to be anywhere close to empty because I'm never going to stop adding games on it. I add games on it so I don't forget about them. But I don't necessarily want to buy them right then and there. I try not to buy games if I'm not planning on playing them real soon. But I do put stuff on there because if something, you know, goes on a steep, gets like a steep discount, then it's like I feel silly if I don't buy it then. There's so many games. There are so many games. And I try and keep a good mix of like era of games. I try not to play like, these are all games from 1995. I try to mix it up in the stream and game style too. Too many games, not enough time. Yeah. I'm gonna race against time to play every game that I can before, you know, this aging and decrepit form crumbles beneath me. And it's fine if I don't hit them all. I definitely don't want to play so many games that like the experience just becomes like throwaway, like I've played it, whatever. And I haven't hit that point yet. So yeah, that's the Barrow Hill. Very fun games, very cool atmospheric games, largely just point and click puzzle solving, reading the history on things, getting spooked out by, you know, random noises here and there. Interacting with locals mostly via, you know, finding notes from them and piecing things together. Really thought they were cool, really cool games. And I'm gonna pull up their other stuff because they got a couple other games out there that look interesting. The Lost Crown. Is that? No, I don't think that's by them. I don't think they did that. They have a listing, but I think that's just like similar games. They have a store. Incubus, a ghost hunter's tale. Interesting. You're on your first solo ghost hunt under the watchful instructions of Barrow and Jen from the OPG Paranormal team. Use real gadgets in real location. House investigated by the developers on the request of 3 different owners. Is a case worthy of a video game. So welcome to Incubus. No, they did work on this. Darkfall, Ghost Vigil, Beltane, The Lost Crown. No, that is them. Lost Crown, Ghost Hunting Adventure. I think that's connected to that Darkfall as well. Because Darkfall, I've got a couple of Darkfall games in there. I didn't buy all of them. Oh my gosh. You can buy the mugs from the game. You could buy the I Heart BHR mug. You could buy an I Heart BHR t-shirt. I might have to buy that. How much is this? Do you ship internationally? What is that in my monies? I'll have to look into this and see if they will if they ship to the US. Never can assume. Also, weirdly, like I get stuff from out of country fairly often. It's just the nature of the biz. Got to save mug money for games. I don't know. I mean, it's how many is it? 17 euros? What's 17 years? $19. I don't think that includes shipping. It's not that much. Fabulous Barrow Hill Radio. Oh, this was like a print on demand thing. I can live with that. Can always use more coffee cups. Well, I'll just pocket that away for another time. Well, that is my post game wrap up. But don't go anywhere yet because I'm gonna do a bubble bobble level. But I appreciate y'all dropping by and hanging out with me. This is nice and relaxing, easy going stream. I might do more of these in the future. Like I said, it is a problem I often have that when I reach the end of a game, it's oftentimes like I've been streaming for 6 hours, like I really got to go. And then sometimes I want to digest the game for a while and talk about it more, have some more thoughts that I have on it, or more information that I learned after the fact. So I don't think I'll do this like every week or anything like that, but it's fun to do just a chatting stream now and then. Otherwise, yeah, I will be taking a brief break to just kind of de-stress myself from all the craziness that I dealt with last week. Try to work on some stuff here, do some cleaning, behind the scenes stuff, and just take it easy. But I will be back on Sunday for Hide Lied. Hopefully I can get the internet issues. Internet kind of dipped out for a little bit tonight, but it came back up pretty quick. So hopefully things are moving in the right track there. And I do want to get back into Hide Lied. I was having a lot of fun with Hide Lied. But I was also like mentally starting to zone out. So when everything started falling apart, it was like, I'm very upset that this is happening, but also I'm fine with this happening. But yeah, that's that. Guess I don't have anything else. I've exhausted my repertoire on these old games. So let's roll over to the Bubble Bobble. I don't think did I load this up? I didn't load this up ahead of time, did I? Nope. Flip my monitor and get rid of this. See, blah, blah, blah. You have to wait for the secret levels. I believe it's 99. So we're close. I'll know it when I see it if I need to do it. Because I never did find reliable information if I have to do the secret levels in Super Bubble Bobble as well. Look at that. Beautiful. Oh, come on up. Come on up. Come get it. I'm not gonna be so lucky with this guy. Oh God! Run for your life. Oh no. Can I get him? Oh baby! That was so smooth. Smooth like butter. I'm not gonna get that. What does that say? Oh, welcome. Welcome. Welcome to your doom. Rise from your grave. I loved Altered Beast when I was a youngin'. I don't know how much I would love it now. I don't know how much I would love Altered Beast these days. But it was fun back then. Welcome to die. What is that? Is that from the X-Men arcade game? You know what? I can't. Whenever I think about Magneto in context of video games, no matter what people are talking about, the first thing my mind goes to is werewolf. Because even though he's technically not Magneto, it's very clearly Magneto. This is the final boss of Werewolf. And I'm like, oh, are they talking about Werewolf? It's like, no, nobody's ever referencing that. If someone's talking about Magneto, they're never referencing the NES game Werewolf. But that's what I always think of more than anything else. What do you mean, Werewolf? Oh, you mean like the final boss of Werewolf? Is that what you're talking about? I remember my brother and I were in an arcade with 3 other kids, random kids in the arcade, people we did not know. They weren't like friends of ours. We all just rolled up on that cabinet. My brother and I each had 20 bucks each. And we blew through all of that money on that game to survive to the end with these 3 other kids. And we were so excited because we finally, with our powers combined, much like Captain Planet, we finally beat the game and wanted to see the ending. And one of the kids said, I've already seen it, and slapped the start button and just skipped right past it. And 4 of us wanted to strangle the kid who just wandered away. There are days I miss the arcade days. That's not something I miss. The money. What is Werewolf? Werewolf is a side-scrolling platformer on the NES. I played it a while ago. It's part of the NES Revenge series. It was a game I received multiple copies of as gifts as a kid. Found it terrible. Refused to play it. Just couldn't get through it. So I made up my mind from the NES Revenge was getting back through old NES games that I had never completed. That's how I started on Bubble Bobble. Get through old NES games I never completed and get all the way through it. And NES is... I've never found any real official confirmation of it, but it's kind of clearly a game that was supposed to be a Wolverine licensed game, like the X-Men character Wolverine, that, much like Journey to Silius, was originally a Terminator game, and then they lost the license and just kind of took out the explicit Terminator references. Werewolf is largely thought to have been a Wolverine game. You're a werewolf. You transform into this werewolf. It has a whole weird story with it. You transform into this werewolf. You get claws. You climb things. You stab things. It's very Wolverine coded. But the biggest thing is The enemies resemble Hellfire Club goons. There's a boss that looks like the Juggernaut. There's a boss that looks like Pyro from the X-Men, like a Brotherhood of Evil Mutants villain. And there's some other stuff, but the big one is the very final boss. Yeah, those things on his hands. Yeah, he's a werewolf, but he's got crowbar hands. I don't understand it. The final boss of the game is very clearly, blatantly, obviously Magneto. He even throws iron girders at us. It's obviously Magneto. But no, it's this evil doctor. Why is he dressed like that? Why does he have magnet powers? The fiery Australian. Oh yeah. What is he actually Australian? No, he is actually Australian, right? Because I remember like the old X-Men cartoon, before the 90s X-Men cartoon, there was a pilot for an X-Men cartoon that didn't go anywhere. And I'm pretty sure he was in that. He was one of the villains in that. For legal purposes, he's Polaris. Yeah. Yeah, that game is so bizarre. And it's bad in a lot of ways, but I'm glad I finally got through it. But yeah, the Magneto thing is... Also, I love the end of that game just has like werewolf in front of an American flag. Like, yeah, we've defeated him and saved America. What? What are you talking about? It's nuts. Like from Batman. Yep. Oh, well, that'll do it for me this evening. This stream went longer than I thought it would. I thought it'd be a lot shorter than this. Not that I needed it to be, but I didn't think I would have, I didn't think I could talk that much. I don't know why I didn't think that. I could talk for a long time. Hope this week is chill for you. I hope it is too. Rate suggestion? Sure, if you want. I'm not super energized at the moment, but I'm open to whatevs. I'm just there. Yeah, I think it'll be a nice one. Well, man, I hope. I don't want to tempt fate again. It's like almost everything that happened last week could just happen again. I don't necessarily think it will. I certainly hope it does not, but I got some projects to work on and some stuff. Another thing I'm going to try to do is try to knock out a bunch of thumbnails as much as I can to get through, get stuff prepped for the next time I'm streaming. I just saw your meme, the Thinker, the Robot Revolution. I don't know if the Thinker's in the Discord. Oh, it'll be very fun. Thank you for the stream. Hey, thank you for hanging out. As always appreciate it. I didn't see anything on there. I'm pooped, so I'm just gonna forego the raid this evening. There's plenty of people out there. I just don't have the juice in me to pop in and chat with another streamer this evening. I think y'all understand. Yeah, so I'll be back, as I said, Sunday. Otherwise, I'll probably post here and there on Blue Sky or in the Discord. I can put a description if this button works. Does it work? It does not work. Of course, these buttons always work. I gotta sort that out this week too. You all take it easy. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I hope to see you back here again on Sunday for more highlight, and then hopefully everything will have gone well. We'll be back to normal streams next time. Always great chatting with y'all, and yeah, really appreciate it. Really appreciate all of you hanging out with me. Means the world to me. Hope you enjoy, and hopefully I catch you. Oh, I sent 2 suggestions. Okay, I can. Those I didn't see any message in there. I will keep these on my list, Anochi. I have not interacted with either of them, I don't believe, as of yet. So I'll make sure I'm sub to them and all of that. So I will put these on my list, but I'm not going to send something tonight. But I appreciate your suggestions, and I will check them both out. It's very awkward, and I'd rather not. So, yeah, that'll do it for me. I will see you all when I see you. Both are reputable individuals. I don't have any concern about that. It's just that I have not interacted with them at all, which means I'm absolutely not already subscribed to them, and I really gotta go. So I can't hang around and wait around for that. And I don't like to raid into someone that I can't at least pop in and say hello to. So that's why I say, like, I'll keep those on my list so that I can be aware of their streams in the future when I pop up on stuff like that. Yeah, that's all it is. It's not not casting any doubt on the content of the character or anything like that. NTG Arena next week. That is next week too. Yes, indeed. I'll have to make sure I get a thumbnail together and put that on the schedule. Anyway, that's it for me. I've been delayed enough. I gotta circle back around on it. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you have a great week. Catch you on the next one. Until then, so long everybody. Bye bye.